never fret. We still have a lot of great racing action coming your way.
As we are in the warm-up segment right now, taking a look at Lauren Jones, as a matter of fact, running right now with a small group of cars as we get warmed up here with about 3.5 minutes. We're going to see if Lauren's going to hop out of line here, go to the low side as we see the 74. That's Brandon Edstrom being pushed along by the double deuce of Alex Murray as we move on down the racetrack. Whoa!
And getting spun off the nose of the double deuce.
That'll be enough.
Absolutely.
Tony, 8 sets of tires tonight, laying 7, 8 total. That's
nope.
going to put this.
They're laying 8. There's 9
sets of tires.
Yes.
Maybe I read real good.
Well, you are from Pennsylvania, so we won't hold that against you.
That's fair. I mean, you know.
You went to an Amish school. What do you expect?
It wasn't that. It wasn't Amish. Okay, maybe it was. It was close.
Okay, it was Mennonite.
Right. We had running water.
Everybody getting the final adjustments done to their setups right now.
Landon Lacey going fastest here in the warm-up, laying a lap down to 30.18 seconds. That's quick.
That is extremely quick. As a matter of fact, I believe that is about 2 seconds quicker than qualifying was, with draft help, of course. Matt Mackin in the 01, there he is, running with another group. Got the 29 at Tanner Marty in tow. And I believe that's the 60, yes it is. That's Rafael Rodriguez, who just went quick time so far here in the warm-up session. Of course, a draft-aided lap. And I'm actually digging the 83 tonight. Randall Watkins making his debut here in the Stacy Strong Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series. The throwback Kodiak scheme that Rusty Wallace won his first championship with.
Yeah, I don't even get a chance to see Kodiak that often anymore, but there it is. And you know what? He did a nice job with that wrap, too, on a car.
Very nice. Very, absolutely a killer wrap. And he's got it on a GM product, which is good to see, considering Rusty was driving a Pontiac when he drove that paint scheme.
Yes, Pontiac, one of the other retired manufacturers from our beautiful sport here. Of course, you know, I look back, Tony, at some of those races, and I see the Pontiacs and the Dodges, and I think it'd be nice to see them make, obviously Pontiac can't make a reappearance, but it'd be nice to see something with a Ram on the front of it eventually.
Well, allegedly, for the 2025 rules package, Dodge is working something up.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, because apparently NASCAR is going, what do they call it, hybrid. And Dodge is actually working on their hybrid system now for their street cars. And, you know, that's going to fall right into the wheelhouse of where the Fiat Group is looking to take things in the next few years. So, allegedly, for the 2025 rules package that's in the works, they're trying to work something up.
Well, that'll be interesting to see. I mean, me, of course, I do love my Chrysler products, Chrysler, Fiat, or whoever decides to buy them between now and then. As the warm-up session is complete here, Tony, that means we'll be getting ready to grid up.
Absolutely. Let's get that off the screen and get this on the screen. As exciting quick time here tonight for Field Filler Motorsports. That's going to be the number 69 of RJ Root, 31-132. Led a few laps last week at Chicago. Ended up taking himself out early, trying to set some hot laps. 20 thousandths to the good over Alex Murray. That is row number 1. Row 2 is going to see Derek Heitman, and he's going to be joined with Matt White. Nick Stein and Joseph Piscotta are going to roll off from row number 3. Brandon Edstrom and Jeremy Miller, the two teammates, going to roll off in row number 4. And rounding out our top 10, Landon Lacey and Dave Foog Jr.
Out of Lamar, Iowa, Nolan Hodgson and Matt Mackin going to make up row number 6. Row number 7 made up of Tanner Marty from Duvall, Washington, and Aaron Mack out of Fort Riley, Kansas. Ron Fitting and Sean Rogers make up row number 8 with Emily Arias in that beautiful paint scheme there, the number 6 Valvoline Thunderbird. Going to be on the inside of row number 9, joined by Randall Watkins out of Pelzer, South Carolina.
A couple of good
Chief
throwback schemes there.
What's that?
A couple of good throwback schemes there in that row.
Absolutely. Chief Cook and Bottle Washer here in the Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series in his traditional Dasani Water Toyota Camry. Mr. Chris Claude, Mr. Consistency, going to be here in row number 11 alongside of Mark Johnston. Eugenio Alonso and Lauren Jones out of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, going to make up row number 12, with Alex Brinson and Jeff Carson from Cross Junction, Virginia, making up row number 13. Steve Herring and Ryan Samuelson in 14, with Rich Jett and McAdoo, Pennsylvania's very own John Wilco, and of course starting shotgun on the field out of Dillsburg, Pennsylvania in the double-3 GoPro Chevrolet Camaro, going to be Ken Ron. 31 cars going to take the green flag tonight, Tony.
31 cars to take the scheduled distance here tonight. RJ Root going to lead us to green as Geico Restart Zone is in full effect. And ladies and gentlemen, I've waited to say these because I love this car combination at this track. It's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, grab the brisket and the nice cold Coke because it's time to get it on in Hotlanta. Oh, no, it's not. The light just went back on the race car.
You got yourself all excited, Tony, and I'm sorry.
I'm sorry about that, folks. I always get excited when it's time to turn some cars
when it's time to drop the green flag. Yeah, you know, everybody kind of gets that little hover there in their left foot as it's just above the clutch. But I'll tell you what, a big field tonight. I think here as we get deeper into the season, especially as the playoffs are going to be. Why are we pacing? iRacing is having a problem.
Why is iRacing having a problem?
iRacing showing that we're on lap 2 of 260.
Because we are.
All right, whatever. I'll go with it.
Trust me, we'll go with it.
But I'll tell you what, as we get deeper into the season, you know, with the playoffs looming, we're going to see a lot of these drivers start to get themselves, you know, into a better position. You know, Chris Claude, who's running in 8th position right now in our point standings, he's basically got to start clawing his way forward toward, you know, the Nick Steins and the RJ Roots.
He does, and he's had a couple of solid finishes in the last few road courses that we've had. But, you know, this is Hotlanta, baby. Anything can happen here tonight, as it's a super speedway that races like a plate track. But as the field starts to work its way through the 3-4 complex, lights are officially out now on the pace car. Geico Restart Zone in full effect. It's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, now you can grab the brisket off the grill and grab those ice cold Cokes. It's time to get it on in Atlanta. Race fans! It's show time!
A good start as they cross the start-finish line here on lap number 1. Looks like everybody 2 by 2, please, as we head toward the door of the arc. All of a sudden, about the first front 12 or so cars going to start double file. That leaves Dave Fugue in the dust trying to catch up.
Dave Fugue holding back there a little bit. Ron Fitting dropping back on the low side. As right now, these guys are trying to pick him up and lay him down right now. So far, everybody minding their P's and Q's, but the racing's starting to get a little bit hectic.
Alexander Gangler back here with Emily Arias and, of course, the number 3 of Ron Fitting. They're starting to form a little bit of a group right behind Randall Watkins. And maybe this 4-car group going to start to pull up towards Sean Rogers and collect him as they gain steam, as Sean Rogers now drafting up to the rear of Aaron Mack and getting themselves organized in this front pack.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could throw a blanket right now over the top 14 or 15 in this grouping up towards the front, as still 2 by 2 by about 10 deep at the front of this piece, as the double deuce at Alex Murray has a nose out in front of RJ Root, but Root getting some really good help from Heitman right now on that low side.
Chris Claude starting to lead a little bit of a single file train back here as he's drafting up to the rear of Ron Fitting. They're going to collect him as teammates Chris Claude and Jeff Carson now trying to lead everybody forward. They've got the 08 in between them, or I'm sorry, the 80 in between them. That's Mark Johnson, as they're trying to get themselves organized and maybe start to draft up again. You know, right now, the two sitting ducks of the racetrack, Aaron Mack and Emily Urias, out here as it looks like Urias trying to get ever closer to the rear bumper of Mack and just not having great success.
Well, the good news is she's got that big hole being punched for her right now, so she is able to kind of hang with these guys. But if they get any more strung out than they are, she's in deep trouble.
186 miles per hour into the corner of turn number 1, and the 78 giving a little bit of a push here to RJ Root, as RJ, basically the 78, that's Derek Heitman's fuel pig up here, and we'll talk about that several times throughout the evening, as now this top line definitely the one with the momentum, as they're able to carry all of that speed as they hit nearly 190 miles per hour now this time around.
Yeah, these guys, they know what they're doing, and those are all teammates lined up nose to tail on that top side. You know, so you kind of expect this to happen. It's been the same MO all season long, as Nick Stein leading the low side charge right now, I believe. Yes, he is. As he's got a teammate or a couple teammates behind him in the form of Edstrom, and I believe that's Lacey. Yes, it is.
It absolutely is. And taking a look right now at Landon Lacey as he is trying to draft up, he's going to almost kiss that rear bumper of Brandon Edstrom, but backs off once again as Edstrom not afraid to get right up on the rear bumper of the 02 driven by Nick Stein, as we are still side by side about 6 rows now deep. And I'll tell you what, like you said a moment ago, you can throw a blanket over that top 12, almost 14 now, as this lead pack is growing ever so gently.
It's up to 17 now, with Aaron Mack being the caboose in this freight train, as Emily Urias has now gotten by him, and she's back in line right behind Randall Watkins. So Rusty Wallace and Mark Martin making an appearance here in the Stacy Strong Cup Series.
It absolutely is. And, of course, the Stacy Strong Cup Series proudly sponsored by Mr. Brian Tarnowski, who is not on track this evening. But, of course, we've talked about Stacy Strong. In fact, I think that's one of the first times you and I got a chance to work together when we did the Stacy Strong 200 right here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
It absolutely was. And, you know, we are asking if anybody wants to make a donation, you can make it to trishashope.com and just put in the memo section hashtag Stacy Strong so that they know where it came from.
Taking a look right now at Jeremy Miller, as we see him here on the high side, he's kind of sandwiched in between Nolan Hodgson, and he's looking for any kind of movement that he can get. These cars, it almost looks like that serpentine snake moving down the backstretch, as right now the last car in that line belongs to Aaron Mack. So 17 deep is the lead pack, and they are not looking to slow down. It's nearly 8 seconds, as it's 7.2 seconds between Aaron Mack and Ryan Samuelson.
And there you can see that second group being led by Samuelson, the 81 Ford Mustang. They've gotten single filed out, so they're looking to try to reel that front pack in, but they're going to have to get just a little bit more organized than they are. And the good news for Samuelson is he's got Princeton and Claude right behind him, and those are two of the safest guys you're going to be ever in the hands of when trying to draft.
And when you talk about safety, this league does judge you by your incidents per lap. It's for those of you that are outside of the iRacing.com community. You know, when we're out here talking about incidents per lap, we're talking about times that you bump against somebody, times that you may rub the wall. This league holds that in the highest regard. So you're not going to see a whole lot of these drivers using that car like a 6,000-pound weapon.
No, you're not, and that's the good news. Is right now we're seeing Heitman and Murray try to make a bid to get back up towards the front. RJ Root said, okay, now it's my turn to save some fuel, as those guys are tucked right in with each other right now.
Yes, Heitman now the race leader, the double deuce of Alex Murray, and the inside line led by Brandon Edstrom starting to come together here as the 74 of Edstrom looking to the inside now, as he's got a right quarter panel full of the 48. That's Matt White here on the high side. They're looking to make some kind of movement, but at this point, it just looks like it's too much too early.
And that's the thing we've learned with this car. You know, we saw it at Daytona, we saw it at Talladega. The bottom line around this place, yes, it's the shortest way around, and if you can arc the corner and use all the track, then yes, you can be fast if you run on the bottom in the middle of the corner. The problem is when you're running 2x2 like this, that second lane, you're not binding the suspension up or drivetrain up as much on that second lane, so you're able to get a better run off the corner and carry more momentum down the straightaway.
It's almost like Edstrom heard you as he did start arcing that turn just a little bit as he's being pushed around by Landon Lacey here on the backstretch as they dive it into turn number 3. It looks like Alex Murray pushing Derek Heitman here, but maybe too little too late as now the low line going to start to make that move. The question becomes, does anybody abandon their draft partner or do we stay in line?
Excellent question, and right now it's just ride. Just ride, just try to keep yourself in contention. Don't put the car in a bad situation. Leave yourself an out and hopefully avoid any incidences, and we can get through stage 1 cleanly.
I mean, looking at the timing and scoring from our leader back through this field, I mean, if there is not enough room to put a piece of paper between these cars, I mean, there is exactly 0.8 of a second between 1st and 14th. That's fast, man.
Oh, it absolutely is. But
another bump from the 54 up to the 74. We are playing a dangerous game, my friend.
Yeah, you don't do that going into the turn.
That is something that you have to practice a lot. So hopefully those two drivers have done that, because I know, practicing with Bob Nestor once upon a time, he would just hook himself onto my bumper and beat the bejesus out of it going down the backstretch. And look, the 74 just abandoned Landon Lacey as Brandon Edstrom decided he wanted to come up and be the fuel pig for a little while. And Lacey now left hoping to God that Sean Rogers gets the hint and starts whacking him.
And just like that, we're already into lap traffic. That would be Mark Johnson in the 80 getting up and out of the way. 3 wide, don't do
3 wide, 3 wide. I'll tell you what, being in that position more than once, Tony, that's where you just grip the wheel, get off the throttle, and get out of everybody's way.
That's about all you can do at that point, is just try to stay it off the wall and be predictable. That's the biggest thing that we ask, is just be predictable so you're not making, severe lane changes right at the last second. But taking a quick look at our top 10 right now, actually take a look at our top 13. You notice a common theme there, Dave?
A little bit.
They're all blue ovals with the exception of Nolan Hodgson in the 12. He is the lone bow tie right now in that sea of Chevys at the front of this piece. Aaron Mack is the caboose in this freight train back there in the 31. And then you've got Matt Mackin in the lone Toyota in the top 20.
And it's interesting that you should say that. I mean, tonight it looks like we are Ford heavy, but more often than not in this league, especially in the Under Series and the Xfinity and Truck Series, which of course you can catch right here on Sim Racing Media every Monday and Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. live on YouTube.com. We're a lot of times on Mondays and Tuesdays Chevy heavy, but tonight a lot of Fords and just 3 Toyotas in the field.
Yeah, and that's something that we've noticed as of late. Where Prodigy goes, so do the manufacturers go, from what it looks like. And so far, everybody has been minding their P's and Q's, as we've got issues at the back of this piece. Jeff Carson just went for a ride.
Yeah, taking a look at what happened with Carson, he was kind of tangling around with the 60 machine of Rafael Rodriguez, and coming out of 4, he just got himself loose and did a little bit of landscaping across that Quaker State 400 logo.
See Chris Claude in the shot there. Oh, yeah, just got on it a little too aggressively and does go through the grass. Keeps it out of pit road, so he's not going to get popped for speeding. And then, As soon as he tried to come back up on track, the front end just lost all grip and he shot straight at the wall. That is no bueno.
No bueno for Jeff Carson. And I'll tell you what, I've raced with Jeff for a couple of years, and he is the kind of driver that is, it's frustrating, but he's unflappable, especially when it's a self mistake. But there's nothing worse than when it's quote unquote someone else's fault.
And now he's in that mix as he's racing with the 80 of Mark Johnson for the free pass position. As both those drivers are the only two currently that are a lap down.
Knowing Jeff, he's just going to hang on to the 80 and stay wherever he can. As long as he finishes above the 80 somewhere here in the next 35 laps, he should be able to get that lap back when we go to our stage caution, of course, at lap number 60. But right now, Brandon Edstrom's starting to run away, so to speak, with the rest of this as they've gone single file in the lead pack, about 9, 10 cars, almost 11 cars deep.
You're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, I'm looking, and yeah, it's only back around Carson and company that they are.
Oh, that was close between Carson
wide.
And... Yeesh.
What are you doing, boys and girls?
Right now they're going shopping for new underwear after that Code Brown moment.
Yeah.
That was a missed opportunity, Tony. I should have at one point had the Hanes logo somewhere on the car.
No, but you gave me ideas for the next paint scheme I got to do for Matt. Speaking of which, my normal broadcast partner feeling under the weather right now, suffering from strep, which anybody that's ever had strep throat in the summertime, it sucks.
I feel like strep throat sucks no matter what, whether it's summer, winter.
Yeah, but it's even worse in the summertime.
Tony, this lead pack is growing by the second.
Mm-hmm.
We're almost 16 cars deep now. 16.
We are 16 cars deep in the lead
11
pack.
and a half seconds.
We're actually 18 cars deep if you count the 2 lap cars that are mixed into that mess. But yeah, they're almost 12 seconds over right now. Alex Princeton. Oh! Well, we went back just in time for that one. Ken Ron and Randall Watkins getting into it. And Watkins...
Oh, my.
Watkins is a mess. Oh, my God.
I'm going to take a run back and see what happened there. They went 3 wide, and Ron just had no place to... Wow. Ken Ron just had no place to go. He was the meat in that sandwich.
Mm-hmm. The 81 came up and took the front end off of Ken's car in the middle of 1 and 2.
As a wide broadcaster once said, there's nothing more terrifying than hearing 3 wide, you're the meat.
Oh, true story.
Brandon Edstrom now taking another bump from Derek Heitman.
As we're taking a look at Randall Watkins' car, that is Bluetooth right front suspension, and that doesn't work. Edstrom right now and Heitman running stem to stern. Alex Murray, RJ Root, and Matt White rounding out your top 5 as we currently sit. And, it's going to take yeoman's work to beat that juggernaut that's at the front of this field right now.
Not only will it be yeoman's work, but it's patience work. More often than not, you're riding around here, and let's just say it's your Tanner Marty back here driving the number 29 Chevrolet Camaro. He's riding right now in 15th position, hanging on to the front group here. And I'll tell you what, it's frustrating because one lift, one flinch of the foot, and all of a sudden you've lost that draft. And for him, he's thinking, gee, I'd really like to nestle myself up into 11th or 10th where I've got help and people around me. And, right now it's all about being patient and just hanging on.
And the thing is, it's something we saw at Daytona this past February, and we saw it at Talladega. The draft package in the Chevys, they don't suck up worth a bag of beans.
No. When there's nobody behind you, you've got nothing.
You're screwed.
The interesting thing to the new iRacing.com damage model is that these cars are a little bit tougher now. It's not so much like the video game damage. Wow, as Aaron Mack just closed in on the left rear quarter panel of Jeff Carson as he's trying to engineer something back here at the rear of this feed pack. But, you know, the new damage model that came out a few weeks ago is just superior to everything else that we've ever seen here in the simulation.
It is. You know, there's still fatigue where it needs to happen. Oh, hang on to her, Tanner Marty.
He's got it. He's got it. He's got it. He's back up.
But he just lost the draft of the lead pack, so that's going to make a long night even longer.
Well, now nominated for one of the most frustrated drivers on the pack, Tanner Marty. As it looks like this front pack, 6 of them starting to drive away from Brandon Edstrom, Derek Heitman, Alex Murray, RJ Root, Matt White, and Jeremy Miller. They're starting to put a little bit of distance now between themselves and Nolan Hodgson, who's trying to get a push now from Joe Piscata. But all of a sudden, Landon Lacey here, they're starting to do that diamond thing. You know how I feel about the diamond pattern.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that's never a good idea.
No, it's not. We are holding on for dear life, as right now it looks like Landon Lacey thinks he can hang on to the bottom side here, but it might be time to just snap back into line. There it is.
Now the 71 of Dave Foog Jr. caught on that low side, and he's got absolutely no help right now.
There's nobody. He's going to wind
everybody's lined up with that top side.
I mean, you can't side. There it is. Hold on to it. We're still green. It is pandemonium, but we are still green as Nolan Hodgson is up against the wall.
Well, he got into it with Aaron. I think it was Aaron Mack. No, it was Pisciotta.
There's the 96.
Yeah, he and Hodgson got into it coming through the dog leg, and you can see some right side damage on that Ford right now.
Still a lot of race to go, though, so they may be able to get some repairs done and still make up some time, as we have been green flag racing now for 38 laps, working our way toward lap number 60 here in Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series Racing, brought to you by Stacy Strong, right here on Sim Racing Media. Dave Regal alongside my good buddy and my best friend here in the iRacing world, Mr. Tony Trapasso.
Been too long, Dave. It's been too long.
I know. We you know, unfortunately, I got sucked into Monday and Tuesday nights, and I work alone, and you've got other races to do. But, you know, as soon as I hear Tony needs somebody, I'm coming.
Well, we do need to give a big thank you to the one person that made all this happen tonight.
Matt Medler?
No. The lovely young lady you have in the other room that's watching TV right now.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Thank you, dear. Because right now, we do have some big shakeups going on. You can pretty much throw a blanket over your top 9, and then you're almost 4 seconds back to the zero deuce of Nick Stein, who scattered trying to get away from that mess that was going on. And he has the lap car of Jeff Carson right behind him. Currently, Carson, I believe, is your free pass car. No, it's not. Ron Fitting
Nope, it's Ron Fitting. Ron Fitting, Ken Ron, and Jeff Carson all in a row there. But right now, the story, Brandon Edstrom and Derek Heitman, it's almost like Edstrom is the Pied Piper of Macon County, Georgia right now.
You're not wrong.
And, you know, you say that as you're watching these cars turn these laps at the speeds that they're turning, and they have not given up one bit. You know, we're still running at nearly 185 miles per hour going into the turns. They're turning 30.8 second laps. I'm betting they think that they can get just about to that 60-lap mark on this first set of tires.
Well, being as they haven't had one person showing the way the entire race, they should be able to get, with a full tank of fuel, they should be able to get there. whether or not the tires are going to be happy with them at the end of that 60-lap stretch, that's a different story. And then we are going to see at least one green flag pit stop in stage 2, as they're asking them to go 95 laps in stage 2. So, because you said 160 is the second stage break, right?
Correct.
So, Edstrom, Heitman, Murray, Root, Lacey, Miller, White, Foog, Rogers, and Stein, your top 10 as they currently sit.
You know, we talk about this racetrack being, repaved and acting like a super speedway, even though that it's more of an intermediate track. But, I'm looking here at the quad oval record. I talk about 189 miles per hour going into the turn. Jeff Bodine laid a 28.074 second qualifying lap back in 1997 with an average speed of 197 miles per hour. Tony, that's a little excessive.
Didn't Tony Stewart turn a 200-mile-an-hour lap here?
I am searching. No.
Could have sworn he did. It was like just before the repave.
Nope. In fact, let's see. 2004, Dale Jr. led the race there. Robbie Gordon in 97 laid down a 29.3 second lap, but no Tony Stewart anywhere actually here on the records.
Help me out, folks. If you're watching this, what track am I thinking of? Because I know
Indy?
No, it wasn't Indy. There was a 200-mile-an-hour lap in a Cup car, and they said it was the last time we're probably going to see that. Make me do all the work now. See how you are?
Texas.
Was it Texas?
Yeah, back in 2014. At least that's what ArabNews.com says.
Yep.
Oddly enough, here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, of course, a very historic track, long time here in the Southeast, of course, right here in the breadbasket of all that is NASCAR. Most wins, the record is held by, of course, the Intimidator Dale Earnhardt with 9. Dale also had 26 top 5s. And the next thing is kind of interesting because this is all Hall of Famers that are here. Richard Petty with the most top 10s. 65 starts for the King here at Atlanta.
How many?
65.
That's what I thought you just said.
Yep, I can read okay. Just barely.
Well, when we take a look at the length of that man's career, it's not really a surprise.
No, but 65 just seems like a lot.
Well, it is. But he had a 45-year career.
No, that's also very fair. Getting back to the racing, though, Alex Murray starting to bump the back bumper of Derek Heitman, who goes up and gives a tap to Brandon Edstrom. These drivers still looking to pull away. That front group now just 9 strong with 7 seconds between themselves and Nick Stein with a little 4-car contingent here as the next, group. I mean, we're starting to see where everybody's going to run right now, even as we get back here toward where Chris Claude is back in 18th position, trailing that lead group by a bunch.
They are, but the thing is, they're still on the lead lap, and that's the key right now. You don't have to win stage 1. You just got to stay on the lead lap until the end of the race.
Especially because after this, here we are with 10 laps to go here in stage number 1. Another good hit from the 78. I'll tell you what, if you need a drafting partner anywhere, Derek Heitman is your man.
See, I have to say it's Alex Murray because Alex put on a drafting clinic the last time we were at a plate track. And, you put him in the rocking chair and forget it. All you got to do is just hold what they call a pretty wheel and not do anything crazy up in front. And Murray will push you where you need to go.
And who was the race team owner that said, hold a pretty wheel?
My guess would be either Childress or Hendrick.
Leonard Wood.
Ah.
Leonard Wood would walk through the pits, and he used to say more often than not to some of the younger guys, "Hey, boy, hold that pretty wheel."
Learn something new every day.
I am full of useless information.
Maybe that's why you and I get along so well.
Between the two of us, we could be thrown out of a lot of places.
We ought to go to a trivia night sometime.
Why? So we can get told to leave because they think we're cheating?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
I mean, the same thing happened with Byron Rodney and I when we went to a trivia night down in Ohio. Like, okay, you guys can leave now. Let's stop asking questions that we know the answers to.
Right. Maybe they should do something that you don't know. Like quantum mechanics.
No, I went to engineering school, sir.
All right, fine. String theory, theoretical physics.
No, I got a minor in physics.
You're so frustrating.
I know, right?
I'm trying to think of something.
Stop thinking, because it ain't gonna happen.
I think I can smell burnt toast. I'm not sure.
Oh, you mean like when I showed you the Dodge that I painted that time?
Nothing was worse than the GM Goodwrench Ford Mustang Dodge.
Yes. I think we both lost feeling in our amenities there, or limbs.
My goodness, that was a hard league to call. I forget what that was. Rick Motec last year.
Yes, it was. But luckily, we don't have anybody doing anything that crazy this year.
No, and I'll tell you what, the paint schemes that you see here in Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series action are always really classy. Actually, missing from the field tonight, actually, let's see if I can find him, is usually the 47, and I can't find him tonight. Maybe he's nowhere around.
Because he's not here tonight. Why? Who are you talking about?
I just forgot his name. Don't do that to me. Hold on. Tom McGee, race control.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, McGee.
Usually the Care Bears machine.
Yes. But, I want y'all to know that we're looking at Emily Arias right now driving the only Ford Thunderbird in the field. And I did ask Chris Claude, because I was planning on giving you this paint scheme, Dave.
That would have been fun. That would have been a lot of fun. Of course, the number 8, nobody's got it out here in the field just yet, as this is my first and last time with my favorite number on the car.
Really?
But I'll tell you what, that Thunderbird looks just about perfect.
I mean, there's a couple of tweaks I could have done here or there, but I'm happy with how it came out.
I mean, you have to remember, the original Thunderbird body style that was there in the early 90s,
right?
Was not near this beefy, this beefy thing that we have going around the track today.
You are correct.
I mean, that's when I think everybody wanted to drive a razor blade around the racetrack and see how fast they could make it go.
Mm-hmm. Because if you remember, that era of Thunderbird was the same time that Chevy came out with the Aero Coupe.
Oh, yes. Talk about ugly. It's interesting. Chevy had, of course...
Oh, here we go.
Here goes.
White flag in the air for the stage, and we've got some racing at the front of this piece.
Side by side, they come through turn number 3. Through turn number 2. We go down the back chute. Alex Murray on the inside of Brandon Edstrom. They're going to be exchanging paint when we get back toward the start-finish line. All but crammed here. Watch the 30 as we've got right now Brandon Edstrom, your race leader, rolling out of turn number 4. Alex Murray on the inside there, but the 78 pushes Edstrom across the line. The caution flag flies, and Brandon Edstrom gets the green and white checkered flag here, followed by Derek Heitman, Dave Fugue Jr., Alex Murray, R.J. Root, Jeremy Miller, Matt White, Landon Lacey, Sean Rogers, and Nick Stein round out the top 10 drivers being awarded bonus points here at the end of stage number 1.
And with that, we are going to step away, pay a couple bills. We'll be back right after this with an interview.
What's up, guys?
Welcome
Roger
back to
Debo,
Atlanta
front
Motor-
tire changer for the 45 Alpha Prime car. You're watching Sim Racing Media.
Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway, where the Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series is getting ready to go back green flag racing here in the SNN Stacy Strong event tonight. Right now with me here in the broadcast booth, Brandon Edstrom out of Springfield, Vermont. Hey, Brandon, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me.
How's it going, Dave?
Pretty good. Looks like you got that stage 1 win. That'll secure your 10 bonus points. Then you blew the pit stop. Take us through that and tell us what happened.
Yeah, I had my teammate right behind me, and he had told me to get in the left lane so that way he didn't run me over going into the pit stall. And usually I've been practicing all week to enter from, because they got the 3 stall in, 3 stall out. Haven't really worked with someone behind me and, letting them see the pit stall. Usually I try to block their view as much as I can, but since it was a teammate, I entered the stall weird. But we're still up here in P7. I think we'll be all right. We got a fast one today, so I think we'll be all right.
All right, my man. Well, listen, good luck the rest of the way. And listen, do Springfield proud and try to bring home that next green and white checkered flag as we let you go, as you are about to go back green flag racing. The iRacing.com pace car diving down pit road as Alex Murray out of Concord, North Carolina, gets ready to bring us into the Geico restart zone. The man in the stand waves the green flag, and we are back underway here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Dave Regal and Tony Trapasso in the broadcast booth with you here for Sim Racing Media live on iRacing.com and YouTube.com. Glad to have all of you with us. Make sure that you're there in our YouTube.com live chat. Give us a thumbs up and a subscribe if you haven't done so already. Turn on those bell notifications so you can be told every time we're live here on Sim Racing Media. Tony, it has been an exciting race as we're under caution.
Well, crap on a cracker. Oh, no.
Yeah, it's that.
Chris Claude high-sided the car. He's stuck on the apron. Let's take a look at what happened here on the restart.
Almost like an accordion effect. Oh. There goes all of your hard work on Emily's car.
Yep. Oh. Oh. Well, there's our first, thank God this is a simulator moment of the night. Let's go back and take a look at what just happened with Chris Claude there. So it's going to kick off in front of him. The 31's going to come right up, and Emily's got nowhere to go. Chris has nowhere to go. The 3's got nowhere to go. Oh, man. That was ugly.
You, at that speed, even trying to get up to full speed, there was no place for anybody to go. I mean, Chris looked to go down, and Aaron Mack just came up and nosed him into the wall. And then, of course, Ron Fitting catches that left rear.
Good grief. You can see it here from the eye in the sky. Aaron Mack gets pinched up. That outer lane just got stacked up going into 3, and I don't know why.
I don't see the origin.
Well, let's watch this from the blimp again. Actually, yes. Let's watch that from the blimp. And you're going to see who was ever running next to the 44 backed off a little bit. Looks like they may have gotten squirrely getting into 3. And it stacked that outside line up, and then it's just an accordion effect. And we got a Waffle House situation.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that'll create some room here on the racetrack. It almost looks like, my 5-year-old with a set of Hot Wheels cars just throwing them around.
So the 48, keep your eye on the 48 right in front of Edstrom. He stacks that outside lane up, and then it's just bing, bang, bong. Bing, bong.
Woof.
Yeah.
I can't believe the pinball machine didn't just say tilt and shut down.
It Probably should have, for all intents and purposes. And the lights are already out on the pace car.
So a quick caution here as we come back to green. We'll be at lap number 69 of 260.
Looks like RJ Root going to have the button.
As we work our way toward lap 160, we're going to see pit stops here at some point. Not sure if they're going to be green flag or not, but let's hope that they are, because that could make things pretty interesting as we shuffle the field. Probably in about another 60 laps or so from here.
Yeah, something like that is what I would expect. I mean, we saw in the first stage that they can go 60 laps under anger. Actually, 62 if you count the two parade laps. As the pace car is in, Root has the button, brings him into the Geico restart zone one more time, holds him down, and finally jumps on it, gets a good getaway. He's going to jump right up in front of Miller, as Miller now has to contend with Lacey for third.
Just like that, RJ Root gets a good start here as we go back green flag racing. He's going to bring along Jeremy Miller and Landon Lacey. Sean Rogers in hot pursuit in the 44 on the low side, but he has nobody that he can draft up behind. Right now, he's kind of hoping for Brandon Edstrom, our stage one winner, to give him the bump that he needs, but the double natural of Rich Jett just a little too far back right now as he's waiting for help from Alexander Gangler.
Absolutely. As Gangler, Gangler was a little bit further back in this race earlier going. He's now back into contention. And a lot of strong cars that were strong during that first stage are now mired back in traffic due to either shooting themselves in the foot under the pit stop or getting caught up in a dumpster fire.
And a dumpster fire it will be if somebody flinches too soon. But right now, Brandon Edstrom having lunch right here on the rear bumper of the 44 of Sean Rogers, as Rogers is now trailing just behind Landon Lacey, looking to draft up behind, as it looks like Lacey sees the potential from Edstrom and Rogers, as Rogers gives him that love tap here going into turn number 3.
These guys are just picking him up and laying him down right now as 60 bails out to go pit side. Looks like he didn't get that car quite as fixed as he wanted to after spending over 3 minutes on pit road last time down. But Root, Miller, Lacey, Rogers, Foog, Edstrom, Heitman, Jett, Princeton, and Jones, your top 10 as we currently sit. And let's talk about Lauren Jones real quick here. Matter of fact, let's talk about Jett, Princeton, and Jones. Jett currently sits plus 20 in 7th place. Princeton is plus 17 in 9th. And Jones plus 13 in 10th. Those are three of your biggest movers so far this evening.
Yeah, and you know, this little contingent, those three cars have been working together all night long. And, you know, so far so good. You know, and on a track like this, you need to find your friends, you need to find them early. And, you know, unfortunately for Lauren Jones, I mean, teammate Chris Claude down in the pits right now, still stuck there from that earlier incident. The only other help that's near him on that team is Jeff Carson, and he's currently mired back in 16th, just behind Eugenio Alonso.
Well, now the good news is they still have two Toyotas running in the top 20 right now. The only problem is they've got a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah, those two Toyotas belong to Matt Mackin and Jeff Carson. Of course, Jeff Carson here drafting up just behind Mark Johnston. And, of course, Johnston down a lap. Gangler right now would be your lucky dog here in his Ford. It's hard to see him in a Ford, of course. On Mondays and Tuesdays, he's in a Toyota. So every now and then you get a little bit of a change here. But my eyes right now are on Matt White. Matt is lurking. He is one of those drivers that you can never go to sleep on. You can never really flinch because he will absolutely make you make that mistake.
And there you see Matt there in the 48 on the top side. Another one of those Ryco Performance Fords. I mean, you can't really go against what Ryko has been able to do in this series or for this series. You know, the fastest guys week in and week out, they're all running a Ryko setup.
Well, and those Ryko setups, remember, loses fast. Those Ryko setups are a handful, you know, for somebody who's mediocre to okay. You know, for some of these drivers, they make it look just that easy, like a knife cutting through air. You know, even here with Landon Lacey holding his own down here, being pushed around by Sean Rogers in the 40. Wow, what a move from Derek Heitman.
Yeah,
Heitman just hopped out of the top line and had a run and decided he wasn't going to lose that momentum.
I'm not so certain that that was what he intended to do, but it's what ended up happening. Is right now he's got the 54 of Lacey pushing on him, but that top lane, they're formed up and they're starting to pull a gap.
Right now, Lacey pushing around Derek Heitman is now all of a sudden Edstrom gets down here onto the bottom. It looks like he's going to try to do the same move that he did at the end of stage number 1. As, they've got to get more in line here on that bottom side, because one hit like that from Derek Heitman to Edstrom, and that could have been boom goes the dynamite and take out the leaders here.
And I'm just noticing something. RJ Root has the 45 on the door of that car, and he scored as the 69, so that's what was screwing me up earlier. Not that I need any help
why
being
you're screwed
up.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, self-defecating humor. It's one of the things I'm good at.
Is that self-deprecating or defecating?
Defecating. I like to shit on myself with my humor. With a friend like me, I don't need a proctologist.
You have to forgive me. I was in a refill right now. But, you know, I mean, here's the thing, Tony.
Chicken cock
Not
whiskey?
everybody's perfect.
Is that what you're drinking?
Watching this front group run is absolute art right now, as they have managed to keep it together. Brandon Edstrom pushed back to the front of our race pack here. He's being pushed along by Derek Heitman, and RJ Root trying to get help from the 30 of Jeremy Miller, and Miller just doesn't have enough right now to get RJ back around to the lead.
Miller's car does not seem to be happy in traffic. As the 60 bails out and goes to the apron coming through the dog leg, gets down and out of the way.
Dave Fugue Jr. now, the last in that Highline lead pack. It looks like he might get a little bit of help. Never mind. I was going to say maybe the Godzilla Double Natural of Rich Jett going to give him some help, but that's not going to happen, as Lauren Jones has all of a sudden worked his way up here. That contingent that we talked about earlier is now plus 19, plus 17, and plus 13.
Well, those guys are definitely picking them up and laying them down. As you can see Jones there out of New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Rocking the Cheetos Extra Hot this evening.
And he is extra hot tonight, you know, and I'll tell you what, that's something to be proud of, is he was just a recent ad for Joe Gibbs Racing this year in SNN Cup Series action. And I'll tell you what, Chris has to be proud of what he's been able to cobble together there for that team.
Well, I'll tell you the name that should be going on to that team is number 86, Eugenio Alonso, who's currently leading the Monday Night NASCAR Series, the Xfinity Series, if you will. Currently leads the points over there, and he's had 3 straight podium finishes here in the Cup Series.
You know, getting a chance to talk to Eugenio, we've talked about it before, you know, distance seems to almost disappear here in the iRacing.com servers. I mean, you're in Syracuse, I'm outside of Philly, but it sounds like we're sitting in the same room, and obviously we're watching the same race. Eugenio Alonso is in Buenos Aires, and I'll tell you what, he is just an all-around good guy, and somebody who could definitely fill the seat there left vacant by yours truly at Joe Gibbs Racing.
I mean, that would be a great driver to put in there. Definitely an up-and-comer if he sticks with the Cup Series. You know, he'll definitely get you guys points, and I mean, he's been in contention. the last 4 races. I think he's got 4 top 5s in the last 5 starts.
Searching.
Because I know he podiumed
over in the Xfinity series.
No, I'm talking in the Cup Series. He podiumed at Sonoma. He podiumed last week at Chicago. I think he was top 5 at Nashville.
Here's the interesting stat, and this almost harkens back to the old days of the old NASCAR point series. Consistency. That's what Benny Parsons used to preach.
Mm-hmm.
Eugenio leads the Xfinity Series standings with 0 wins, but 6 top 5s.
Well, there you go.
Now, Channing Ballou leads the Truck Series championship with 7 wins.
Well, yeah.
And oddly enough, now check this out. In the Truck Series, and once again, iRacing, of course, an international and a worldwide sport. Channing Ballou, of course, out of Pensacola, Florida. The next couple of drivers, all the way down, the rest of the top 5 in the Truck Series, all international. Claude Ferland, Gabriel Lafreniere, Sylvain Joly, and Eugenio Alonso, all sniffing the rear bumper of Channing Ballou, who leads Claude Ferland by 160 points in the Truck Series.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if Channing's any relation to Gary, driver of the famed Batmobile 120 or 112, that basically reset the body rules up in big block dirt modified country.
Well, I will make a point to ask him that on Tuesday night, as I usually get a chance to talk with him before the race. Of course, one of the other interesting things that we've seen in our Truck Series and Xfinity Series, of course, that once again you can check out right here on YouTube.com with Sim Racing Media, yours truly at the microphone, 1s and 2s and everything in between on those nights. But we've had on Monday nights the likes of the GOAT of all that is dirt biking.
Travis Pastrana?
No.
Ricky
Carmichael. Jesus. Don't say Pastrana. That threw me off almost completely off. I'm already a little off. But we've had Ricky Carmichael racing in our Xfinity Series, and we've had 2014 Daytona 500 winner Trevor Bayne in the Truck Series.
Oh, there you go.
So you can always check out those drivers and more on Mondays and Tuesdays. And, of course, Sunday nights here where, at least NBC thinks everything comes down to Sunday night during football season, but we all know that it all comes down to Sunday night right here on SNN.
Well put, Dave. I want to thank everybody for joining us in the live chat. Apparently your fan just showed up, Dave.
Checking.
Dcash Videos saying, "Hey, Dave."
Oh, that's Alexander Gangler. Hey, Gangler, start driving.
Deb Harris checking in, pulling for the Prodigy Boys again. Donna Krainborg checking in. Donna, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. And
Deb Harris keeping us honest about RJ.
Actually, one of the phys ed courses that I took when I was going to college was inverted underwater basket weaving. Where you put a scuba tank on and they hung you by your feet over the pool and you wove a basket.
You have my attention.
That was the course.
That's interesting.
You had to weave a basket while dangling from your feet with a scuba mask on.
Huh. Well, just in case you needed something else to entice you into basket weaving, scuba tanks.
Inverted underwater basket weaving. It was the doctorate level course.
I'm all about it. But getting back to the race right now, looks like Derek Heitman and Brandon Edstrom trying to lead this piece as they're starting to get a little bit of distance between themselves, which is going to allow that bottom line to make up some ground here. Of course, the bottom being led by Landon Lacey, as Lacey being pushed by Sean Rogers now in the 44. things starting to get a little bit dicey atop the pile here on lap number 96. So a little bit more than 65 laps to go here in stage number 2, and nobody's giving anybody any room here at the top of this piece. As we go all the way back here, they are side by side all the way back through the 14th position.
They are at that. As there you see Alex Murray in the double deuce caught on that high side as he's working the outside right now. Jeff Carson. Carson did get back on the lead lap under the last caution, and that's all you need to do. You just got to be in it to win it. And right now, the 22 of Murray is following the zero deuce of Nick Stein. As Stein just riding right now, trying to keep that car out of trouble.
Just riding is probably what, if we polled the drivers right now, what are you doing down there on the track? What are you thinking about? Just riding is probably number one on the answer board for Steve Harvey.
Survey says,
ding, just riding.
I'll tell you some guys who aren't just riding are those guys at the very front of this piece. Landon Lacey's trying to get up there to lead a couple of laps here as he's working door-to-door with Heitman right now, but the 44 of Rogers is not close enough to really give Lacey a lot of help.
No, and you know, this looking at the front of this piece right now almost harkens back to the old days of the Gen 5 cars that, you know, of course, you could drift back and forth. It's so tempting, you know, whether you're here in the next gen or, of course, back during the Gen 5 days and Gen 4, where you could drift from the high side to the low side and hold everybody off. Right now, if Brandon Edstrom, you know, and Derek Heitman tried to move down to the low line, they would be freight trained faster than you could blink.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, because it's what we talked about in stage 1. In that second lane where they're running, you're not binding the car up as much to get it to rotate like, unfortunately, Lacey and company are on the bottom, because they can't let the car run off the corner, you know, and they're trying to give room, and they know they're coming into that dog leg on the front stretch, which it gets pretty narrow in there. You don't realize just how narrow it can be at times. As a matter of fact, let's go on board with Lacey. This is what he's seeing. And that is Chris Claude that they're coming up to put a lap on.
I'll tell you what, looking here from Lacey's cockpit almost looks like he's trying to get through traffic, you know, on the George Washington Bridge. He's got cars high side, low side, and he is just holding that wheel as straight as he can as he knows that he's taking those hits in the rear.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you can see the car get just a little unsettled as it makes the transition onto the banking. And then he's got to counter steer just a little bit coming off the corner.
I know you did. I know that you were looking there on the in-car, but right now the 30, the 69, the 78, all accordioning. It looked like an accordion. It's almost like this move brought to you by Lawrence Welk and Champagne Music. Just whacked 1, 2, 3, 4 all into one another to try to keep Brandon Edstrom atop this pile.
Ah, yes. This one's for the boys in the band. Each one of them is a badass mother.
Why, we're going to watch Bobby and Sissy as they dance around the racetrack here in Macon, Georgia.
A wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Where's my bubble maker when I need it? For those of you who
don't let us work together.
For those of you who are too young to remember what Lawrence Welk was,
tune in to WHYY, that's Channel 12.
Ask your grandparents.
Or tune into PBS probably on a Saturday night in your local area. Of course, here in Philadelphia, we have WHYY on Channel 12. You can check out Lawrence Welk every Saturday night at about 7:30.
As it has been for the last 60-plus years.
Or John Wilco up in McAdoo, Pennsylvania. He can check it out on WVIA right after the Pennsylvania Polka.
What?
There's a show on WVIA, PBS, up outside of Scranton, and every Saturday night they go to the Mohegan Sun Arena, Mohegan Sun Casino, just outside in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and they film a show called the Pennsylvania Polka. Picture American Bandstand, but with accordions and lederhosen.
You have my attention. My two favorite instruments in the entire world: the accordion and the bagpipes.
You know, add a trombone in there, and we're identical. I've always thought that playing the accordion would be so exciting. When I was a little kid growing up in Reading, our neighbor sat on the front porch smoking stinky cigars and playing his accordion like 4 times a day.
Nice. Well,
it was
Dave,
an old Polish neighborhood.
We've got to get you up here towards Buffalo, and we got to get you up here for Dingus Day.
I want this garbage plate you speak of.
Well, we can definitely make that happen.
Of course, a couple of weeks ago, I was up in Chester, New York, and what beautiful country you have up there.
I know, right?
And then I found a bottle of Jim Beam.
That's why I seldom tell people I'm from New York State. I usually tell them, oh yeah, I'm over near Syracuse. Or I tell them the city in New York State that I'm from. And they're like, New York City? No, I'm not from the 5 boroughs. I'm from upstate. I'm in the Finger Lakes, where we actually have nature.
Yeah, you can go up and watch the leaves change color and whatnot and so on.
Like yellow like my cab, red like my mama's Stugats.
Do you get leafers up there? When I lived in Jim Thorpe, we used to get leafers.
Oh yeah, we get leafers.
You know, it's incredible. There was an episode of Family Guy where they talked about that.
Yes, exactly. But the thing is, it's also apple season up here. So they come up, watch the leaves, and pick apples.
I can think of 1,000 other things to do with my Saturday afternoon.
And then drive like touch holes as they go back to their hotel room.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Well, no, if you came up here, it would be for Dirt Week.
Oh, and Oswego.
Oh, yeah. Well,
you know,
it's not just... Dirt Week isn't just at Oswego. A lot of the action is centered around Oswego, but there are satellite races every night of the week.
See, that would be exciting. I could probably justify a trip to upstate New York for that.
Well, let me know, and we will...
As long as it doesn't interfere with the SRM Miami trip.
No, it would be the beginning of the month instead of the end of the month.
Well, that's a start.
And I can save you money on a hotel room.
Yes.
There's a Holiday Inn Express right next door.
You know, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express in Chester, New York. Let me tell you, they have a machine. It was so exciting that I took a video of it. 60-second pancakes.
What?
It's a machine that has batter inside of it that's being agitated by something.
Okay.
And when you click start, there's a little button there on the control panel, it drops a precise amount of pancake batter onto a conveyor belt. It rolls between 2 hot things, and then it comes out into pancake.
Well, you know, Dave, if you do come up here, I'm going to have to introduce you to Cameron's Donuts. Remember when I showed you the picture of a box of diabetes?
Yes.
Yeah, that was Cameron's Donuts.
I'm all about it.
Yes.
Speaking of donuts, what's your opinion of the duck donut?
The what?
Duck donuts. You ever have them?
The hell's a duck donut?
It's something down south. I got to be honest. Folks, I am from the mid-Atlantic states. When we get, okay, everybody loves their Dunkin' Donuts, so on and so forth. Or for me personally, the apple fritter at Wawa. But I'll tell you what, Krispy Kreme is still the #1 donut to me. And I, as a future diabetic, am more than proud to say that that's the most delicious donut there is. Stay away from duck donuts.
Okay.
They're too cakey.
Oh, you don't like cake donuts?
No, I want something that's got lard in it.
Okay, then you and I are going to get along real well with Cameron's. Contact! As Miller gets down into Nick Stein, coming through the dog leg, that could end it disastrously.
All but 3 wide there as Nick Stein getting back into line, but right now Jeremy Miller bump and runs his way back down to the low side just behind RJ Root. Now they reform that bottom line, and they're ready to make the charge back toward the head of this pack here. And I'll tell you what, Brandon Edstrom is going to have his hands full now that Landon Lacey, Derek Heitman, and R.J. Root are all here pushing him from behind.
Well, here comes Lacey, is still door-to-door with Edstrom, 2x2x2, about 8 deep right now. Well, 6 deep anyways.
Well, 116 laps of 260 in the books, working our way toward lap number 160. Now on 117, it looks like nobody's giving any room here at the head of this pack. A lot of times you'll start to see these cars go single file, and they'll start to try to pick one another off, but nobody here in the SNN Cup Series ready to give up that real estate. Wow, what a push!
Good grief. Lacey was coming to the top side whether Edstrom wanted him to or not.
He was... Listen, at that point, it was like a guy pushing a wheelbarrow. No, we're going to go, and we're going to go now.
Wonder who Lacey's favorite driver is. Pull up his helmet and you'll see, Dave.
Ah. Well, right now, Landon Lacey, Brandon Edstrom, and Derek Heitman lead this piece here on the high side. But Alex Murray starting to engineer all kinds of a recovery drive for R.J. Root, who now gets the race lead as they swap positions. I'll tell you what, although that there are 31 drivers that took the green flag, those front 6 are starting to get more and more exciting.
They are that could have gotten spectacular.
Oh, my.
Root just ran it up the track coming through 3 and 4, kind of stacked that inside line up just a little bit. But right now, I mean, this is amazing. You throw a blanket over your top 14 as they are all right there. And then you've got about a 2.5 second gap back to the 31 of Aaron Mack, who's got the 30 behind him, who's a lap car. 30?
Yeah. And Lauren Jones even further back, 8.4 seconds, as he and Ron Fitting
80
are trying to make a go of it here.
That's the 80 of Mark Johnson back there as well. But yeah, these guys are definitely picking them up and laying them down right now.
17 cars on the lead lap. Mark Johnson would be your lucky dog if we went under caution right now, as there are 40 laps to go here in stage number 2. And the question that's, I at this point have to start asking is, who's going to be first to blink? We've already got more than 60 laps since the end of stage number 1. Of course, almost everybody with the exception of Alexander Gangler coming in on lap number 62. So we're right there where we were for the end of stage 1.
Mackin and Murray both came down on 66. Stein, Murray, and Mackin all came down on 66, as did Aaron Mack. Everybody else came down on 62. So, it still has yet to be determined how long can they go on a tank and go fast here tonight.
Brandon Edstrom getting another push from the double deuce of Alex Murray, and there's Chris Claude getting out of the way. We'd say that it's a 3-wide situation, but really it's not. It's just Chris getting out of the line of fire, as Chris is down several laps now, as he's only got 93 on the books. He's down 30.
Yikes. But he's still plugging away at it,
Chris, there's a reason that he is sitting 8th position in points right now, and it's because he will not give up.
Whereas Emily Urias, Tanner Marty, Ryan Samuelson, Nolan Hodgson, and Randall Watkins have all put it on the hauler early.
I mean, I don't blame them. Here's the thing. It's a long race, and you look at it, and 30 laps down is insurmountable. Unless we suddenly have 30 cautions and you're the lucky dog every time.
Which, as of right now, will not happen.
Certainly not, as we're on lap number 125. Looks like Brandon Edstrom getting another shove from Alex Murray. RJ Root now, the fuel pig, leading this race. And
Oh!
there goes Edstrom down into the grass.
How did he save that?
I'm guessing he also walks on water and heals the blind.
Yeah, that was a miracle save. That's got to be save of the night so far. Wow. I thought for sure somebody was going to eat wall.
Listen, I spent a long time watching Mariano Rivera close baseball games for the Yankees.
Yeah.
This was better.
Really?
Really, really. As Dave Fugue Jr. coming down pit road, he decides he wants to be the first to come.
And rightfully so. You know, if you're doing the same thing everybody else is doing, the view ain't going to change. But speaking of baseball, Dave, I got to give a hats off to your Phillies there. Rookie pitcher in his first start shuts out for 6 innings before they pulled him.
Yeah, you know, I'll tell you what, the Phillies have been, first of all, usually they're the bane of my existence.
Right.
However, right now, as long as they're exciting, I'm happy. And, you know, you pick somebody up in the farm system, especially a Rule 5 draftee like that, and he just makes it worthwhile showing up to the ballpark every day. You know who I wouldn't be happy for if I was a fan of that team right now?
The Mets?
The New York Mets. They just had a long weekend in San Diego. Perhaps we know somebody in San Diego who may like the Mets.
Hi, Frank.
Love you.
Oh, by the way, Dave, check your Facebook. I sent you something. More, I sent it so that Rebecca can buy you stuff.
Working on it.
And we've got wholesale pit stops. Heitman, Murray, Edstrom, Stein, White, and Princeton all come down. Root, Miller, Mack, and Carson, Rogers, Jett, Lacey, and Mack all stayed out. As we are coming to 30 to go in this stage.
Oh, my.
You like those?
That's fantastic.
I figured you'd like those.
I'm just going to sit. Oh, there's even, I mean, I know that it's not that Shenandoah, but that's still fun.
Yeah, I know. For those of you wondering what I'm referring to, there's a page out there that makes T-shirts of now defunct baseball teams.
The San Jose Prune Pickers.
Yep.
That's the... Oh, and the Sheboygan chair makers.
I figured you'd like that one.
I mean, Sheboygan, it's on the way to Chicago. Rest in peace, John Candy.
Yes, Gus Frink, the Polka King of Sheboygan.
Polka King of the Midwest. There we are, back to polka. I don't know how we managed that one.
Since we are talking about polka again, I got to tell you about Fritz's Polka Experience. They're a local band out of Utica, and they are the only polka band I know of that an accordion player and a bagpiper will go and start doing like a dueling banjo kind of deal.
That's quality entertainment if I ever heard it.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, green flag pit stops have commenced, and a lot of them have been completed. Just Mark Johnson and Aaron Mack not coming down yet. As once we cycle through, that'll put Alex Murray to the point, followed by Derek Heitman and RJ Root, as it looks like Mack is still trying to keep it steady here. Maybe he's hoping for a weird caution.
No, he's coming in this time.
Oh! Oh, that's not going to do good. Keep it. Oh, almost.
Okay, he's not speeding, though. That's the key. Not pop for speeding on, because he was almost stopped when he got to the commitment cone. But this is going to hand the lead of the race over. There is Murray and company coming down the back straightaway now. And Murray and Heitman were down on 129. RJ Root, Jeremy Miller, and company were down on 130. So lap apart, and there is no undercut.
And there it is, as now we have cycled the field. Aaron Mack making his pit exit, Steve Herring getting off of pit road. That leaves 15 cars on the lead lap, trailed by Lauren Jones. And Lauren right now is a sitting duck, as Alex Murray and Derek Heitman are basically ready to run him over.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, here comes the chase pack, as we're going to go on board with Jones. Looking back, yeah, that's the leader behind him, folks.
That's not how you want to look at the race.
No. Now, the good news is, with the stage caution so close, he should get the free pass to get back on the lead lap.
Should and will he are very scary terms to be using right now.
True story. As right now, Lauren Jones working the inside of Chris Claude. Claude getting up and out of the way.
Just one caution for cause tonight, Tony.
I'm impressed. I mean, these guys have really tightened their game up. Uh-oh, what just happened to John Wilco?
Searching.
Well, there he is. Let's see what did happen. Coming out of the pits.
Oh, the old cold tire bug got him.
Oh, yeah. He's trying to hustle it. There goes the race leaders, putting him a lap down. And he caught that bump on the exit of 2. Oh.
I'll tell you what, that bump coming out of turn 2 is something special. I thought that when they repaved this piece that maybe they would smooth that out, and if anything, they highlighted it.
Well, the problem is that bump takes place right as you're about to change gears. So if you wait till after the bump, it's going to unsettle the rear end right in the rev zone of the engines here, and it'll really unload the back end of that car.
Taking a look right now here at Alex Murray, he's got himself a nice little train here of that front 4. They've got a couple of lap cars in tow. There's Lauren Jones, who, of course, just got put a lap down. That puts Aaron Mack in the crosshairs to be next to go a lap down. But Lauren Jones right now running with the lead pack. Looks like about 6 cars here in that lead pack. They've got the 96 of Joseph Pisciotta. Woof. Pisciotta?
Pisciotta. Chiapet.
Got it. The 96. He's mixed in there, of course, along with Jeremy Miller, and they just fly on by the 89 of Steve Herring. And Herring trying to find anything to grab onto air-wise. And, you know, here's the thing. When you're running in the draft in these cars, you feel like you're going a million miles an hour. As soon as you step out of the draft, it's like putting a parachute behind a drag racer. And all of a sudden, you just slow down. When they pass you, you're trying to grab that air as the pack passes you, and 9 chances out of 10, there's no way to do it.
Not really, unless they're running 2x2 in front of you. But even then, you don't want to be in a 3-wide situation here ever. We've seen it a couple times tonight work, but it was only because it was heads-up driving for everybody involved. Murray, Heitman, Root, Miller, White, Stein, Edstrom, Princeton, Carson, and Jett. Your top 10 as we currently sit. Throw a blanket over your top 4, and then you're about 4 seconds back from Jeremy Miller to Matt White.
You know, we were just talking baseball a moment ago, and of course, as we get ready to go into All-Star week, into the All-Star break here for baseball, of course, we also have the Major League Baseball draft, and the number 1 overall pick from, of course, the Pittsburgh Pirates, who were just awful last year. The Buccos selected Louisiana State right-hander Paul Skenes, and I want you to look him up, Tony, because the mustache on this guy is almost like Raleigh Fingers, minus the handlebars.
Really? What's his name?
Skenes, Skenes. He's probably, I'll tell you what, he's 6'6", 21 years old. and just finished his college season with a 12-2 record with a 1.69 ERA. That's Steven Strasburg numbers right there for those of you keeping track at home.
Look at that porn stash.
Yes, sir. That's something to be proud of.
Fitting that he's going to the Pirates.
Everybody wants to go to Pittsburgh, is of course.
Donna, what are you doing to me? How many times I got to tell you? Essex is not upstate; it's downstate.
And I just went through there.
If you're not north of the Southern Tier Expressway, you're not in upstate.
I just had Essex and Sussex confused. I had just been through Sussex, not Essex.
Well, they're both downstate, so it doesn't really matter. But
Well, it doesn't get much more upstate. You're not in Canada, but you can see it from there.
Ah, yes.
Buffalo. Alex Murray, your race leader. Your top five: Alex Murray, Derek Heitman, R.J. Root, Jeremy Miller, and Matt White up atop this pile here. Lauren Jones mixed in there. I'll tell you what, along with the 48, and that's Matt White. I'll tell you what, these drivers up here have finally gotten themselves some distance. I can't wait to see what happens in about 13 laps when we get to lap 160. Once everybody's racked, stacked, and ready to go again, because we're going to see this whole field reshuffle itself like a deck of cards. After a green flag pit stop, everybody gets into these smaller packs and everybody kind of gets spread out real thin. But
Dave, real quick here.
Yes, sir.
Take a look at the time Brandon Edstrom spent inside his pit stall. He missed his box again.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, my.
17 seconds in stall. Compare that with Alex Murray, who went 14 and a half seconds in stall. So Edstrom gave up the 3 seconds on track in his pit box.
And still clawed his way back into seventh.
Well, that's the thing, is take a look at that group. They're 4 seconds off that lead group.
Yeah, but you know what? Right now, especially in the closing laps here, he's running in seventh position. He's going to get 4 points there, 4 bonus points. At this point, be where you are. There's no reason to try to make a run up there. You're not going to catch Alex Murray and Derek Heitman and R.J. Root. First off, I've never said the words, hey, I just passed R.J. Root. In fact, half of this league has never said they've just passed R.J. Root.
Not when he's been on a track.
That's exactly right. The only time I've ever passed him is if something bad happened and he was in the pits. Brandon Edstrom right now is in the catbird seat. When we get ready to be reshuffled here, Edstrom, as long as we come in nice and easy, has a chance to be dominant in the third stage.
But he's got to hit his marks on pit road. And he hasn't done it in either of the 2 pit stops he's made already. He's got to correct that as we're 10 to go here in stage 2. Murray, Heitman, Root, and Miller all running stem to stern right now at the front of this piece. And
how's the weather up there? My goodness. I just got
here?
another alert. Yeah.
Let me look.
Just got another alert down here outside of Philadelphia for a flood watch. My goodness. Thank goodness it's nice and warm here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, it's 68 degrees right now here in upstate New York. Oh, goody. Thunderstorms.
Yeah, just in case you didn't have enough earlier today. But it's a beautiful 82 degrees right now in Atlanta. That track temperature finally cooling down to 118 degrees. I realize cooling down to 118 sounds a little absurd, but after starting at more than 130, 118 is almost comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But right now, your top 4 starting to pull away from those lap cars that are behind them. being led by Lauren Jones right now, as that is an unorganized mess behind Jones.
Right now, Lauren is probably in the most comfortable spot on the racetrack. He's got about 7 laps here to the end of stage number 2 when we get ready to hit that century mark to go. And he's okay running in 14th position. He's going to get that lap back, and everything's going to be okay as long as Aaron Mack doesn't blow the doors off of the 11.
And Aaron Mack's no. What just happened? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like
the flood watch is over in New Jersey.
Apologize. That was thunder that just hit right outside my apartment.
Didn't even notice.
We were off air for a brief second there. I think we're back. Apparently we're back. Allegedly.
Allegedly. Sure looks that way. Yep, we're back.
Okay. As we're about 4 to go here in stage 2, Alex Murray leads the way. Heitman, Root, and Miller there with him. And then you're about 4 1/4 seconds back to the 48 of Matt White, who's got Stein, Edstrom, and Princeton in tow. You are watching the Stacy Strong Cup Series here on Sim Racing Media. I'm Troy Trapasso. He's Dave Regal. Thank you so much for making us a part of your Sunday evening. If you haven't done so already, be sure to give these videos a thumbs up. It really does help share these videos around the YouTube algorithm. The more thumbs up a video gets, the more likely it is to be shared on someone's homepage when they log into their YouTube account of, hey, you might like to watch this. As we are in the closing laps of stage number 2 here. Green flag pit stops done and dusted. Go ahead, Dave.
And right now, Alex Murray here in the closing laps of stage 2. 2 to go now in this stage. Alex Murray being pushed around by Derek Heitman. I don't see anybody getting itchy fingers yet on the steering wheel.
Not yet, but give it time.
There's another hit from Derek Heitman as they're getting ready to bump draft. We might have a 4-car shootout here to the end of the stage.
Well, it's a good possibility as Heitman and Root go door to door, banging fenders coming through the quad oval. White flag is out. Final lap of stage 2. Oh, Lauren Jones just got spit.
We're going to have to come back to that because right now we've got a 4-way battle here for the lead as it looks like throwing the block is Alex Murray in front of RJ Root. RJ's not going to like that as he dives to the inside. He's going to get pushed along by Derek Heitman. They're going to go fender to fender here as they get ready to cross the start-finish line. The double deuce crosses here on lap 161, and Alex Murray brings home the green and white checkered flag, followed by RJ Root, Jeremy Miller, Derek Heitman, Nick Stein, Matt White, Brandon Edstrom, Alex Princeton, Jeff Carson, and Rich Jett.
And with that, we're going to step away, pay a couple bills, and we'll be back right after this.
Welcome back to Atlanta, Georgia. We're right now here on the Sim Racing Media broadcast booth radio channel from Concord, North Carolina. Alex Murray, our Stage 2 winner. Hey, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
I got you, Dave.
Hey, man, listen, congratulations there on the run. Looks like you and RJ were ready to get the hammer and tongs out here in the closing laps of Stage 2.
Yeah, I mean, with the four of us there, I mean, I knew that it was going to come down to whoever had the top lane going into 3. The side draft is super, super overpowered, and it just seems like whoever's on the bottom without help can't complete the pass. So worked out in my favor there when he went to the bottom, but see how the rest of this race goes, and hopefully we can end up in victory lane.
Absolutely. Just less than 100 laps to go. Congratulations on the Stage 2 win. 10 bonus points to you, sir. And good luck the rest of the way, my friend. We'll see you maybe in victory lane.
All right. Thank you, guys.
And there you had it. And Murray is electing to take the outside lane on this restart. First time we've seen that tonight so far. Got Heitman with company with him. RJ Root starting to his inside with Miller for company on the low side. And they got Nick Stein back there for company. So it's hard to bet against the numbers as Prodigy. First 3 rows at the front of this piece. Green flag is back out. Murray drops the hammer. Root and Heitman now door to door as Miller pushing on Root to try to get him up there. They haul it off into turn number 1, still side by side.
Sean Rogers gets the free pass. I guess Lauren Jones wasn't able to complete the lucky dog maneuvers that he had to, as they are bumping and banging all the way down the backstretch. 8 cars now here in this lead group, but the front 4, you couldn't possibly get another car in there. You couldn't get a unicycle between these cars.
Well, as Root is glued, or has the back bumper of his car glued to the 30 of Miller. 3 wide coming through the dog leg. What are you doing? RJ Root caught in the sucker hole right now. That is no bueno.
Flirting with disaster as we run through there. Looks like RJ's going to be shuffled back pretty far, but right now, Alex Murray getting the push from Derek Heitman and Brandon Edstrom as we roll out of 4.
His Root goes from the lead car on the bottom side to 3rd in line. As now the 54 Lacey drops down in front of Miller. Murray continues to show the way with Heitman and Edstrom in tow. And they've got, I believe it's Alex Princeton? Yes, it is.
It is.
Alex Princeton back into the top 10 for the first time in a while.
Lacey dropping all the way back here to 6th position. Stays just ahead of Nick Stein in the 0-2. You almost wonder to yourself whether or not it might have been wiser for him to get in the top side, even as he drafts up just behind Jeremy Miller. Oh, shoves Jeremy Miller down to the apron, and Miller, not willing to wait for the pack to go by, gets right back up onto the racing surface.
Oh. Lauren Jones wisely backed out of it, did not want to be in a 3-wide situation at all. Right now, the 11 is in the free pass position. It's Aaron Mack right behind him, though, as Miller jumps up in front of Rich Jett, throws the block on him. We've got crap flying everywhere. Something just happened.
I believe somebody had a connection issue and everybody scattered.
That's what it looks like. Edstrom now leading that bottom lane.
East Coast. Storms all up and down the East Coast going to start affecting that right now, even as Brandon Edstrom tries to mount a charge here on the low line, but Alex Murray just overpowering everybody else on the racetrack back to Dave Fugue Jr. Towing them around as if it was a car with a magnet on it. Edstrom backs up to Alex Princeton's bumper to try to get a push, and Princeton just not able to give him the shove that he needs to as they try to make some kind of progress here on the low side.
And there's a reason for that. It's because Princeton is in one of those Chevys that those things don't suck up worth a damn right now.
That may be why we see so many blue ovals. Deb Harris in our YouTube.com live chat saying our state of Vermont is in a state of emergency right now. So obviously the storms are getting pretty nasty.
Yeah, definitely not a good time on the East Coast right now, as we've had a couple of weeks of real up and down weather. Luckily, they got the racing in last night at Oswego, as the Super Modifieds did battle again. But right now, RJ Root is in deep trouble.
Speaking of deep trouble, Jeff Carson coming off of pit road, takes off, gets past that green cone, and something weird happened with him coming off of pit road.
Okay.
It's almost like he couldn't get himself going, and almost like the pack tried to suck him up coming out of turn 2.
Well, with as fast as they're going, that wind can do weird things. And is everybody getting pretty single-filed out at the front of this piece? Everybody just riding, as we're working lap 173 of 160, so inside 100 to go.
8 in a row they go here atop the pile, as it looks like the double natural of Rich Jet and the 60 trying to get in on this dance.
Oh.
That's Rafael Rodriguez. Woo. Navigating the lap car of Ken Ron.
Nope, that was Chris Claude.
Oh, the car schemes look alike.
Okay.
Chris will just have to forgive me.
Sorry. Murray, Heitman, White, Frug, Stein, Miller, Edstrom, Rogers, Princeton, Root, and Jet, your lead lap cars.
What a race we have right now. Take a look at RJ Root drafting behind Sean Rogers, as it looks like RJ is out here angrily trying to force his way back forward. He backs off of Rogers one more time because that front pack of 8 cars on the high line just absolutely dominating everybody else right now. Lauren Jones trying to get behind RJ. Of course, Lauren would be your lucky dog should the caution fly. And as hot as things are getting, I'm starting to feel that that's coming near.
You might be right. And I guarantee you, if he had his druthers, RJ Root would rather be on the top side right now. But with that top lane crammed as full as it is, you take what you can get at this point.
Absolutely. Lauren getting a little bit below that red and white line there toward the apron. Keeps it moving straight here and just gets right onto the inside of Brandon Edstrom. Edstrom, of course, winning stage number 1. Alex Murray winning stage 2. That can only mean that stage 3 is going to be a complete wild card as we're on lap 178. You're watching SNN Cup Series action brought to you by Stacy Strong right here on Sim Racing Media. He's Tony Trapasso. I'm Dave Regal. And this is probably the most exciting racing you're going to see all night.
That absolutely is. You know, it's been a dogfight for the first 2 stages. Here we are into the closing laps. We are left with 11 cars on the lead lap. Rich Jet in the 77 being scored as the final car as such. Warren Jones right now in the Flamin' Hot Cheetos number 11 Ford Mustang, currently in the free pass position. But don't look now, as that's Eugenio Alonso right behind him, who he is actually racing for that free pass.
Just waiting to see if I can get this to load here. Whoa! Right now, taking a look at the real Cup Series race. Right now, stage 2 with 4 to go. They're under caution, Tony, as Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, Austin Cindric, AJ Allmendinger, your top 5.
That is definitely an interesting conglomerate there.
Yeah, they did not mean to do this.
But Dave, I gotta ask, what was your take on the Real World Chicago race last week?
I'm going to be honest, Tony. I'm not a fan of road course racing in the first place, and then they do a street road course. Leave that to the Grand Prix drivers.
Grand Prix and Trans Am, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, it was interesting, but if they want to go to Chicago and if they want to get NASCAR into the Midwest, I heard that they could more than likely just work on Chicagoland.
I mean, the track's already there.
Right.
For starters, I'm not a happy camper that they went away from having the 4th of July race at Daytona.
Yeah, something just doesn't feel right about that.
Right.
I feel like, and maybe it's just the old conservative person in me that says, why do we have to change these things?
Well, it's
The
like when
4th
they
of July
tried to,
in Daytona.
it's like when they tried to take the Southern 500 out of Atlanta and they moved it to LA. Why?
Because they can.
You don't screw with tradition.
Well, the only time we're screwing with, we're staying with tradition didn't work out was in Fiddler on the Roof, and
Right.
Tevye was not happy about that. But, and I understand that NASCAR wants to crack into new markets, but Chicagoland, a perfect racetrack if you want to be in the Midwest. If you want to go out west, you can do that early on in the season, just like they do already going to Auto Club early on. Of course, Auto Club going to get a facelift as we get ready to move into the 2024 season. But I feel like, especially for some of these traditional races, the July Daytona race, that belongs on or around 4th of July weekend. I'm sorry. It makes sense. I feel like being at the World Center of Racing on one of the most important days in American history is okay. Whoa! Lauren Jones is sideways. And he saved it.
Rich Jett also involved in that one. Let's go back and take a look at that.
I'm trying to figure out how Lauren saved this.
Alonso got into him. Watch this. Alonso's going to get into him going into one, gets him loose, and just pancakes the car. Rich Jett nowhere to go as Lauren's trying to save it, and he's drifting turn 2. Looks like he might have some suspension damage on the Cheetos number 11.
Checking in once again with the real life race. Looks like we may wind up in a weather delay as it looks like some rain moving into the area outside of Atlanta.
Oh, of course it is. With
Keselowski in the lead. And I'll tell you what, looking across the field, a lot of blue ovals atop the pile. Keselowski, Blaney, Buescher, and Cindric. Your top 4. First bow tie, Allmendinger in 5th.
First bow tie here, Alex Frinson in 10th.
It's interesting, folks. We talk about, there are people out there that, of course, say, this is just a game. This is just a game. This is a simulation. I'm comparing in real time what's going on in the real life race versus here in our simulated race. And I'll tell you what, it's pretty darn close.
Not too far off. And so right now, we've only got 10 cars on the lead lap. Eugenio Alonso currently in the free pass position, but he's got to worry about Aaron Mack. Mack is back there stalking. There's Mack. There's Alonso on the bottom of your screen. Mack at the top of your screen. So he's got a little bit of breathing room by about a second, but definitely not safe enough yet.
Now, working lap 189 as they come down the back chute into turn number 3. Alex Murray getting yet another shove from Derek Heitman as they roll out of turn 4 toward lap number 190. It goes Murray, Heitman, White, Miller, RJ Root, Nick Stein, Brandon Edstrom, Dave Hugh Jr., Sean Rogers, and Alex Princeton. Your top 10 are your lead lap cars with Eugenio Alonso not far off in 11th position.
Currently in the free pass, he's door to door with Alex Princeton right now. Getting by Princeton. Princeton knows that, there's nobody behind him for position. So, he's got the lap led on Alonso, so he can kind of let Alonso get in front of him. He's got the 01 behind him, why do I not have an 01? I don't have an 01. There he is, Matt Mackin. But these guys up at the front of this piece, they're starting to pick them up and lay them down as they have gotten single file, and everybody's running that second lane here deep into this tire run.
Yeah, right now it looks like just about all 10 lead lap cars are lined up as they go, with Alex Princeton being the only... Whoa! The 71, we are under caution. The 71 and the 19 of Alex Princeton just got into it.
Ah, crap. Let's take a look here. There's Princeton. Oh, what happened? Oh! Eugenio Alonso just cut a race car to the face.
Looks like the 71 got loose, and boom goes the dynamite for everybody else.
Let's watch this again. As there you see Dave Krug Jr. Just had all the wind taken off his rear spoiler. Gets the car loose. Alonso nowhere to go. Princeton nowhere to go. The 01 nowhere to go. And those are some very torn up race cars.
And very torn up feelings, I'm sure, as well. As, of course, you know, I mean, realistically, Fugue had no place to go. He was trying to walk it back into being stabilized. And maybe going low was not the option for him, as he had actually been bumped loose by the 44. And he almost had it saved and came down the racetrack instead of staying out of the way and up high.
Yep, there it is. The 44 gets into him, tries to save it. Oh!
Yeah, it's like that.
And that's the way it is.
That'll bring out wholesale pit stops for lap number 194. That should be the money stop for most of these drivers. As Aaron Mack opting, there he is, to come on down. That'll add an 11th car to the lead lap.
No, it won't.
Oh, it will not. Just kidding.
It'll actually take a car from the lead lap. Unbelievable.
You know, I can't believe we went this long without any mistakes and things like that. And now, you know what they say, cautions are going to breed cautions. As, of course, so many of these drivers are going to come out with cold tires. That's scary.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Especially, you know, with as hard as these guys are going to, or have been and are going to be running here in the closing laps of this race. You know, we're right on the outside edge of you can make it from here territory. So save me a lap and we're good. As we know, they can get about 62 out of a tank to go fast. So definitely going to be interesting to see how this one plays out.
Well, a pretty quick caution as the iRacing.com pace car lights are out. Derek Heitman going to be on the high side. Alex Murray on the low of row number 1. Jeremy Miller and Matt White going to be row number 2 as they come down the back chute here under pace speed. RJ Root, Nick Stein, Sean Rogers, Brandon Edstrom, and Aaron Mack, your top 9 and your lead lap cars.
It puts Mark Johnson into the free pass position. He's going to be slugging it out with Eugenio Alonso, as both those cars had a little bit of damage that they had to get repaired after that incident.
For those that are fans of Kyle Larson, it looks like he and the 43 got together on lap 93 in the real race, and he is not a happy driver right now as he's down in the pits getting ready to put it on the hauler. But right now, the iRacing.com pace car dives down pit road. Alex Murray, with control of the field, gets ready to enter the Geico restart zone. He hits the loud pedal, and we're back underway.
Murray drops the hammer. Miller goes with him as he's door-to-door with Heitman. Miller on the low side, Heitman on the high side. RJ Root trying to push on Miller. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. They were just the opposite way before. Miller jumps up and abandons Root on the low side. Now Root's got to work with Brandon Edstrom down there on the bottom as that top lane gets formed up quick and in a hurry.
Yeah, they have basically put themselves inside of a forced field here on the top side. As RJ Root on those cold tires thinks he can make something happen, but I'm willing to bet, nope, never mind. I thought maybe he'd try to move. There he goes up into the top line.
Now Edstrom's got to work with the 60 behind him. And I don't think he's happy having to do that, as that 60's hit everything except the pace car tonight. Rafael Rodriguez not having a good time of it. Couple laps down, about 10.
Yeah, Rodriguez is actually down 12 laps, and he's the last car besides Chris Claude, who basically at this point, Claude running in 26th position, down 35 laps, needs to get around Lacey and company just ahead of him. Looks like Landon Lacey, Lauren Jones. That's who Chris has an opportunity to try to secure a few spots from them.
It all depends on if Jones can get that car fixed. But right now, Claude can get into the top 25. So that's the good news. Anything past that is just gravy.
And obviously this top line has decided to go single file for a darn good reason, as Alex Murray leads Jeremy Miller here on lap 199, just about lap 200, as we dive into turn number 3. Derek Heitman now drifting just a little bit further back, maybe to pick up some draft and a push from RJ Root.
It looks like he's trying to get the slingshot engaged here, as he did back off of Miller for a while there. Now it's starting to pick the pace back up. And something just happened again with Jeff Carson. Oh no. Carson and Princeton just got into it.
Well, they were 3 wide just before that happened. Oh, my.
Oh, God. Ken Ron there as well. Oh.
Oh, my.
That's
no
the
way to
second
finish
time.
your evening.
That's the second time tonight that Carson has gone through the grass.
That's definitely no way to do your landscaping.
No, leave that to Preen.
Once again, checking in on the real race for those of you who care to find out. William Byron leads this piece all of a sudden in a throwback Rainbow Warrior paint scheme. And I'll tell you what, that just looks cool.
You got to admit, Hendrick put together a hell of a team when that team debuted.
My goodness. I'll tell you what, he got lucky as all get out to have Jeff Gordon as his driver. 4-time champion, but that paint scheme, when you see that coming, that's when you know something exciting is about to happen.
Back in the day, there were 2 paint schemes you never wanted to see in your rearview mirror. That Rainbow Warrior 24, and the other one was a black car with a number 3 on it.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Rick Hendrick has built that team from the ground up, and I mean, taken his time and done it right. And it's the same thing no matter what sport you're in, whether it's baseball, football, NASCAR, hockey, whatever. You know, if you take your time and you do it right, you can become a legend. I mean, you know, Richard Childress just happens to find this guy from Kannapolis, North Carolina. You know, Rick Hendrick just happens to find Jeff Gordon.
Well, now hold on. Let's back things up a little bit, because Hendrick was in it in the mid-'80s. As a matter of fact, he had what they referred to as the dream team at the time. He had Jeff Bodine as one of his drivers, and he also had...
DW.
No. That was later. I'm talking about the 24 Folgers ride.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. Well, I'll tell you what, just watching that team and watching how things have gone for the Hendrick organization is always exciting. And I mean, looking at our race right now, and once again, I'm here comparing the two. It looks a lot like, Kevin Harvick just bought the end of the racetrack. That's for sure.
Well, that's not good.
And one thing that NASCAR does that I think is better than almost any other sport besides, perhaps baseball, is taking care of its history. They know that they are stewards for history.
Mm-hmm.
Today, seeing Richard Childress out in that white number 29 Chevrolet, well, at that time it wouldn't have been the Camaro. That would have been the end of the Lumina Monte Carlo.
It would have been the Monte Carlo, and then the SS.
Yes. Seeing Childress out there driving that number 29, which, of course, we all remember from 2001 as Kevin Harvick made his debut. I mean, they are stewards of history in this sport. And I mean, that's something that you and I get to do here in the broadcast booth, to think about it, to talk about it, and to keep that history alive, because you don't know where you're going unless you remember where you came from.
Poignant words from Mr. Dave Regal, and Dave, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's one of the only forms of motorsport that has really kept track of its history in a way that future generations are going to be able to look back and go, wow, that's how they did it? There's not a Formula One Hall of Fame. There's not an IndyCar Hall of Fame. The only other sport that I can think of that, caters to its history is drag racing. There is a drag racing Hall of Fame out in California that one of these days I would love to go see. But I've already been to the Museum of Drag Racing down in Ocala, Florida, that has Don Garlitz as its caretaker, and some of the rides that are there. I mean, granted, Don drove most of them, but there are some historic race cars in that facility. If you're ever in Ocala and you get a chance to stop by, you need to go to that Museum of Drag Racing that Don Garlitz has put together. And I would love to see what the NHRA Museum looks like out in California.
It's probably long and straight, about a quarter mile long.
No, it's a big building. But
Big building,
I see what you tried to do there.
You see what I see? You see what I did there? I'll tell you what, speaking of long and straight, right now, our race has gone almost completely single file through that lead pack, and 9 cars on the lead lap. Alex Murray all the way back to Aaron Mack. And I'll tell you what, if there's anybody that could be a wild card, especially here in draft, is Aaron Mack. I mean, watching what he did.
Here's the problem. Aaron Mack is about 11 seconds off pace. He's back in that second group.
If he can get himself up to this group, he can start to make a little hay.
I don't see that happening.
And Bubba Wallace just broke the toe link.
Oh, goody.
That's a problem. I mean, I'm not a mechanic, but I don't think that wheel belongs that way.
So you're saying he has Bluetooth front suspension?
Yes.
Yeah, that doesn't work that way.
Of course, tonight's race on TV brought to you on USA Network. Oh, that's what happened. Woof.
Who did he hit?
The 41. 41 came down the track. Bad things happen to the 23.
Of course.
And that's a situation, we talk about it here on iRacing. Thank goodness that it's a simulation. Thank goodness that it's not real life. I mean, these drivers, especially even in iRacing, with the direct drive wheels, they are dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of the direct drive wheels, especially when you start to turn that force feedback all the way up, I mean, my goodness, Bob Nestor had a kill switch on his rig.
Oh, yeah. You have to. Because it is so easy. Like, the rig I had, and it wasn't even a high-dollar rig. I had a Thrustmaster RS 500, and it would lift an oak dining room table off the floor.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the equipment that we use in sim racing is, in many ways, just like, if not more difficult to drive than, real life. I mean, I've talked to Ricky Carmichael, I've talked to Trevor Bain, and I asked them, How do these cars here on iRacing.com compare to real life? And more often than not, they say it's harder to drive on iRacing. And to some degree, especially if you're going to spend time in the sim, that's good practice. It's almost like putting a batting donut, on your bat while you're in the on deck circle.
And I'll tell you why. Because when you're in the car, you have what they call a butt feel.
Right.
You can kind of feel what the car is doing by the seat of your pants. Whereas in the simulator, unless you're in a full motion rig, like something you would get from Rikmatech, you're missing some of those senses, and it can be very difficult for a guy that's got a lot of experience in the real world to jump in the iRacing counterpart. You lose at least 60% of the feel that you have for the car.
Well, and there are drivers that are out here on regular controllers. There are drivers without force feedback. They're the ones that I pay the closest attention to because they have to be able to feel that without feeling it.
And if you do it long enough, you can kind of get that. And I always had people laugh at me when I said that I turned my force feedback off on the dirt side of things. Because all you're doing at that point, the wheel is going to move. If you've got the force feedback turned on at all, that wheel is going to fight you on a dirt track. On the pavement, not so much. But with every rut and bump on a dirt track, that wheel is trying to get jerked out of your hand, 100 times a lap. Your hands are worn out after a 30-lap feature. So I always turn my force feedback down, if not off, on the dirt side of things. But I had it turned up to about 50% of max on the pavement side of things. And there were a couple of times where my downstairs neighbor would come up and go, "Dude, what are you doing?" Sorry, I got to turn the force feedback down. Because it would lift a solid oak table up off the floor.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, I used to apologize to my old neighbors, like if they could feel I had a butt kicker under the rig. And I mean, I used to apologize for it because that thing will chatter your teeth.
Oh, it can. I had one on my old wheelchair.
But as we're looking right now, things starting to calm down. This is almost the calm before the storm, Tony. I mean, Alex Murray and Jeremy Miller are current race leaders, running 1 and 2 with Derek Heitman in third. Brandon Bruce telling us that Alex, Jeremy, Derek, and RJ have this in the bag. Donna Kreinborg a little upset over the spoiler alert, as I probably should have warned anybody watching this that I was watching the real race at the same time. But also Donna Kreinborg agreeing with Tradition and Tony, and she also thinks that Chicagoland would be a great race.
Well, that's just it. Is they tried to shove it down their throats with 2 races a year, and they couldn't sell 2 races, so cut it back to 1. If you want to see racing in Chicago, you got one shot at it.
It worked out for Dover and Pocono.
Exactly. Otherwise, you're traveling.
I mean, the Pocono race used to be so confusing for me. I shouldn't even say confusing. More frustrating than anything, especially when I lived up there. There was only 2 weeks between the Pocono races, which is, one on Fox, one on NBC. Whoop-de-doo.
Ever tell you about my first Pocono race?
No, sir.
I was standing in line at the Weber Grill hospitality tent, and it's Benny Parsons in front of me. They were on break because I think it was ARCA qualifying was going on. And you could hear somebody go into turn 2, and you heard screech thud. He turns around, looks down at me, and goes, "That was a hard hit." I'm thinking to myself, you are the John Madden of NASCAR.
And I just heard somebody's engine pop.
In here, or?
Yeah, in here.
My guess would be Princeton, because he spent the last 12 minutes on pit road, but nobody's smoking. So, don't know how that's going to work out as Chris Claude gets up and out of the way again. And, oh, that is definitely not a sight you want to see. They're 3 wide.
I told you they're going to get itchy.
And it's the lap cars that are doing it.
Well, and once again, and I've said this a million times, the lap cars, they're trying desperately to get out of the way, most of them. Every now and then you'll find that one wild card who's got that wild hair that says, oh, I'm going to try to stay here and fight for that position. For what position? Get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way. I'll never forget about, it was maybe almost 3 years ago now, at Talladega. I was a lap truck down low coming out of turn 2 at Talladega, and basically the pack was coming toward me, and...
Did you Kevin LePage the field?
Oh, it was a problem. I can't think of his name right now. Barrett Coffey was leading the field, and I got down and I got screamed at because I couldn't get out of the way fast enough. Get out of the way. You're not going to try to get back in this pack right now.
You Kevin LePage the field, didn't you?
Yeah.
And for those of you wondering what the hell I'm talking about, when we're done with this broadcast, go to YouTube and search Kevin LePage Talladega. I guarantee you it'll be the first thing that pops up. Watch what Kevin does. And it's one of the reasons why iRacing has implemented the blue cone rule here in the simulator. To stop people from doing that. Comes out of pit road, is barely doing 70 miles an hour, and goes up into the racing line going into turn 1 as the field bears down on him at almost 200 miles an hour.
Always remember that every rule has only been made because something bad happened.
And you got to wonder if some of these warnings that are out there, like when we were down in Florida, there was a sign about a block from the Airbnb that we stayed in that said, "Do not molest the alligators." I want to know the story behind that sign.
Maybe you don't want to know the story. Maybe that's where we're getting it wrong. I don't know if I want to know exactly what happened.
Maybe not details, but somebody get liquored up and do unspeakable things?
To an alligator? No. No, leave it alone. Don't touch it. Don't even look at it. Don't even think about it.
Watch what it does to a marshmallow. Imagine what it'll do to your pee-pee. I broke Dave. I just broke Dave.
I don't know where to go with that. Well, it only took 231 laps, but you finally got me. If only Metler was here. So I wonder if Metler is self-medicating tonight.
He said something about a bottle of chicken cock whiskey.
That's generally our thing. Oh, I just saw what happened to Kyle Larson. My goodness.
Oh, no.
Something broke under the hood and shot through it.
Shot through the hood?
Yes.
The hell?
I don't... Hold on. The miracles that are DVRs.
Alexander Gangler having issues. Let's take a look at what happened to the Air Force number 82. He was racing with Eugenio Alonso, came down for what should have been way overcooked it into the pits. That's an unsafe pit entry. If he tried to... Yep, he did. Okay.
So Larson had the front right tire blow out, and it shredded through the sheet metal on the roof.
Oh my!
Yeah.
That's not sheet metal. That's carbon fiber.
Well, it shot through it.
Good grief! That's definitely not a good thing. Is everybody okay?
He looks angry.
No, angry is fine. We can deal with angry as long
he was all alone down the apron.
As long as nobody got injured.
No.
As we're currently watching the lead pack do its thing, top 8 throw a blanket over them. As right now, Nick Stein is the caboose in that freight train that is the lead lap cars at the front of this piece. Sean Rogers hanging tough on the low side. But he's only got the 9 of Jeff Carson down there to help him, and they're losing ground quickly.
Keep an eye on Chris Claude here. This is how you get out. Oh!
Rogers just got spat out like an old wad of chewing gum.
Just as I was about to say how nice things were with the way that Chris Claude gets out of the way, bad things happening to Sean Rogers as he's down on the apron, limping it around. Oh, he got into the grass just now. Locks that front left wheel up. I think the front left is a little out. If you can see it right there on the camera, Tony.
Oh, yeah, that's not attached.
It's supposed to be spinning, folks.
Yeah, let's go back and take a look at what happened there. Here's the replay. Rogers on the low side. As we're going to see if we can get the eye in the sky to tell us what's going on. And they're going to go 3 wide. The 48 is going to come down. Rogers bounces off him and just blasts that right front corner into the wall. And there you have it. Bluetooth left front suspension.
And that left front wheel just absolutely locked up there.
Yeah, that's
no
turning.
Way that you want to be.
That is not turning at all. It's not attached.
I'm fairly certain that the real race is red flagged right now.
All right, then.
Just waiting for a decision from NASCAR.
Oh, if they're past halfway, they can call it.
Oh, they've only got 75 to go.
Okay, then, yeah, it's past halfway. The race could be made official.
Oh, they just went red. Now they'll see if they can squeeze this in. And, of course, run 17 more ads.
Of course.
Speaking of ads, we do want to make sure that you head on over there to Trisha's Hope. Of course, and if you make a donation there, you can, of course, go #StacyStrong as you are watching the SNN Cup Series brought to you by Stacy Strong and Trisha's Hope. Of course, Stacy, the late wife of my good friend Brian Tarnowski, normally driver of the number 28 Chevrolet here in the Cup Series and, of course, in the Xfinity and Truck Series as well. But here, of course, I'm Dave Regal. He's Tony Trapasso, and this is Sim Racing Media. Glad to have all of you with us who came along for the ride tonight. Alex Murray, your race leader. He's followed by Jeremy Miller, Derek Heitman, RJ Root, Brandon Edstrom, Matt White, and Nick Stein. Just 7 cars left on the lead lap here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And, Tony, we have watched quite a race tonight as it seems like they're just picking one another off one at a time.
And they are at that as Aaron Mack was the last one to go a lap down in 8th, which means that only 7 left on the lead lap with 20 laps to go in this race. Dave, this is about to get ugly with a capital UG. I mean, I know that, they're teammates and they have the rule of try not to kill each other, but they also have that other caveat in there that if you are going to kill each other, make damn sure it's a Sports Center highlight for the rest of the year. Murray, Miller, Heitman, Root, Edstrom, White, and Stein all running stem to stern right now as they continue to crank off laps. We're 19 to go here at Atlanta. And taking a quick look at the weather, we have dropped almost 30 degrees since qualifying. And it may not sound like a lot, folks. I mean, 106 is still pretty hot. But that is a huge swing for this track to take as far as track temperature. Some of these cars have got to be almost undrivable if you would put the qualifying set in them right now. $18 to go, and everybody still has at least another one to two sets laying on pit road. So in case we do get a late race caution, we could see some pit strategery start to take place.
Well, and with these 18 laps to go, I'm waiting to start to see some of these itchy feet get near that throttle. And, at this point, Jeremy Miller, he's almost in the best position possible. If he can get Derek Heitman to go with him all at once, there's just enough room to leave RJ Root out to dry and not enough time for RJ to try to close in on Alex Murray. And I think we're going to start to see those moves come with about 3 to go. So the race hasn't even begun yet, Tony.
No, it hasn't, but if you take a look, RJ still has to deal with Brandon Edstrom, who won stage 1, and he would love nothing more than to come home with the victory here tonight in the final checkered flag flying. but you also got to count Matt White and Nick Stein in contention. This is the best finish that Stein is going to have in a long time.
Absolutely. In fact, looking back here, I'm going to take a peek and see if I can find out maybe a little bit about where he's been.
On the hauler early through most of the previous handful of races that I can remember.
Checking.
The pride of Lubbock, Texas.
Lubbock, home to the Bush Ranch.
And what else came out of Lubbock, Texas?
Nothing.
A little-known band called Buddy Holly and the Crickets.
So Nick Stein has 1 win on the season, 5 top 5s and 5 top 10s. There you have it, folks. This could be one of his best finishes of the year.
Absolutely could
if
be.
he start to make that move now with 14 to go.
The question is, he's got to have somebody to go with him. As we're checking in with Jeremy Miller out of Burlington, New Jersey. And,
they have coat factories there.
yes, they do. And I remember that you knew it was back to school season when your mom took you to Burlington and got you a winter coat in August.
Yeah, see, we didn't have a Burlington in Reading. We have the Vanity Fair outlets. Had the Vanity Fair outlets.
Well, you're surprised you didn't go to King of Prussia Mall.
No. I was raised by a single dad. We went to Vanity Fair. I had a fabulous designer. His name, Irregular.
Anybody want to explain it to him?
Is that not a thing? Is that
No.
not a designer?
No.
Oh. No, I remember very distinctly in about 1999, maybe 2000, I wanted a pair of Lee pipes. They were the only ones that I didn't get that came from the Irregular rack.
Lee what?
Lee pipes. It was a type of jean from Lee.
Okay.
It was a thing. It was a fad.
Kind of like Jenko's?
Yeah, close enough. They kind of looked like Genco's, except they were made by Lee, and you could get them at the outlet for cheaper.
Hmm.
Of course, my dad, who decided to be cheap my entire childhood, has now decided in retirement to just spend it all.
Well, that's what grandkids are for.
Yeah, well, speaking of which, I'm staring at something that he bought my kid. We were at the ballpark, and when I was a kid, you went to the ballpark, and I'd say, hey, Dad, I want this, I want that. And he'd say, we'll come back for it later. I'm 34, and I still don't know when exactly later is. So we're down at Citizens Bank Park last year, and my kid sees this stuffed Philly Fanatic.
Okay.
And he wants it. My dad looks at him, and he says, okay, well, go get it. And I said, Dad, I'm not paying for that. He goes, don't be cheap, and I just stared at him. He said, don't deny your kid. I said, and I just stared at him again. Next thing you know, Grampsy was taking little David into the souvenir stand, and he was getting it for him. I'm still waiting for mine, but, things change when you're a grandparent.
Rebecca, if you're listening, Dave wants a plushy Philly Fanatic for Christmas.
Yeah, right. What, and feed my addiction to baseball? That's like asking, never mind. I don't want to go there. West Wing, no.
It's like me feeding my addiction for hockey.
There we go. That's better. Good shift. I was going to make a statement about, perhaps white walls, white powder, West Wing.
No.
Please?
No.
8 laps to go.
Your
here
name
with
is not
Alex
Hunter.
Murray. No. Who? Don't get me started.
Anyways, 8 laps to go.
That I just scratch my head over.
Yes, Hunter, Keith.
Cletus. Who names their kid Cletus?
The McFarlanes.
The slackjaw yokel from The Simpsons.
There you go. You know you're an elitist if you name your kid anything past junior. But then again, I know a good guy who is his first name the third.
No.
No, he's a good kid. He is a good kid. Hard-working young man, too. Very hard-working.
I'll tell you who's not third, Jeremy Miller and Alex Murray. Alex Murray leading this piece. Jeremy Miller looking to the outside. We have a challenge for the lead with 6 to go. Jeremy Miller shifting to go out in front. Just got hung out to dry as Derek Heitman now pushes Murray on by as RJ Root going to start pushing things. My goodness.
Another coat of paint, they would have been in trouble. Miller's probably ready to start kicking puppies right now, as now Heitman gets hung out to dry.
I thought we were going to have a shift, but all of a sudden, it's almost
Too
like...
soon, Junior.
Yeah, Jeremy Miller just tipped his hand too soon. Now we know what the play is. They know the play. Boom. All of a sudden, RJ Root just comes up and pushes Jeremy Miller into the back of Alex Murray. My goodness. Coach O'Shea said in the Little Giants, they know the play. They know the play. And now Alex Murray knows exactly what Jeremy Miller is going to try to do here with 4 to go. And here we go again. Jeremy Miller looking to the outside. RJ Root coming with him. All of a sudden, Brandon Edstrom trying to push the 22. They use the lap car as a pick. And now Jeremy Miller is your race leader.
Only by the grace of RJ Root did he get up there.
Alex Murray just hung out to dry on the low side, has nothing to do but watch those leaders pull away as Brandon Edstrom may not have enough help from behind to try to push him up there. Right now, it goes Miller, Root, and Matt White in the 48. The 02 of Nick Stein now has crawled up into that 4th position. Going to have to start watching him with 3 to go. They're going to turn out of turn number 4, come back toward the stripes. The popsicle sticks go in the air. We're 2 to go.
2 to go here at Atlanta as the 3 gets into the wall, coming through the dog leg. We stay straight and green right now as Miller shows the way. Root backing up to try to get a run on him. And the question is Miller, did he tip his hand too soon? Is now RJ Root in the catbird seat. Matt White and Nick Stein right there as Edstrom tries to battle back on the low side as he's got the 78 of Heitman for help. Coming out of turn number 4, white flag is in the air. Dave, we are officially racing back to checkers.
Absolutely. It goes Miller, Root, and White, your top 3. Brandon Edstrom threatening 3rd position right now as he's being pushed by Derek Heitman, but Heitman doesn't have the momentum that he needs. Matt White drops down to the low side. The 0-2 of Nick Stein takes 3rd position away from him. RJ Root diving to the inside. They are side by side in turn number 3, working their way out of 4, Tony.
Side by side coming to the stripe. Root on the low side, Miller on the top side. Root's going to win it as they make contact coming across the line.
What a finish as RJ Root takes the checkered flag and they wreck at the start-finish line as RJ Root, Jeremy Miller, and Matt White bring home the podium. RJ Root with that checkered flag captured safely in the cockpit.
Let's watch that again. There's the move. Root sends it. No help behind him for either one of them. Root going to take the low side. Miller's going to come down to try to throw the block. Root gets a bump from the 48. Gets up into Miller. And Matt White comes home in 3rd.
That has to be one of the closest finishes I've ever seen in the Cup Series here. That is impressive and then some.
By a fender. RJ Root, your winner here at Atlanta.
It's like Kurt Busch back in the day.
You're not wrong.
RJ Root, you go right ahead and celebrate here at the start-finish line in Atlanta.
And Dave, I believe you got a race winner with you now.
Hey, RJ, it's Dave up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Hey, man, listen, great finish to this race. You were kind of lurking around. Were you planning on this, or was this something that unfolded just coming out of 4?
We were kind of setting that all up, me and Jeremy, because we knew Alex was having to save fuel. So, I was working with Jeremy up until the backstretch on the last lap. And I generated the run right. and I felt like I could get Jeremy going into 3, and he kind of pinched me down and was able to side draft just a little bit, but then he slid up in the middle of the corner, and it was going to be a drag race, and I saw Matt get to me before whoever was next in line on the outside was going to get to Jeremy, so I knew right then that I was going to get it, but it just, man, it feels good to win.
I'm sure it does feel good to win. I mean, you notch another hole there in your belt here for the SNN Cup Series. What are you looking forward to as we get ready to go into next week?
I'm really looking forward to next week. I mean, it's doing these plate races is fun and all, but in my opinion, they ruin this track. I mean, you took one of the best tracks on the schedule and turned it into a super speedway. It's boring. It doesn't take any skill to really drive the track. I mean, it takes skill to race it, but it doesn't take skill to drive it. And that's where all the fun is being on edge driving. And I'm glad that we're going to a track that you actually have to drive.
Yeah, Tony and I were talking about that off air earlier, and I mean, Atlanta is just simply the third of our super speedways now. But next week going to New Hampshire, then the following week at Pocono, the Tricky Triangle. It's going to be an exciting series of weeks here in SNN Cup Series action.
Yeah, July is my birth month, I guess you'd consider it. So it's always a really fun month for me, just because it's all the weeks leading up to my birthday. With being born on the 29th, I got quite a bit, and it's like my favorite part of the schedule, because we go to New Hampshire, Pocono, and then Richmond on my birthday weekend, which is also my home track. So it's a lot of fun.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations. Go ahead and celebrate with that team, and we'll see you next week at New Hampshire.
One second. I really got to give a shout out to Brandon's Lasers. He's hooking me up with this amazing wood sculpture thing for my mom's cousin who passed away in the military. And I also want to give a shout out to my girlfriend who is currently asleep on the bed because she found out that she has ovarian cysts this morning.
Oh my God.
So it is, it's been a long day, to say the least.
Well, we will absolutely keep her in our prayer. And, of course, Brandon's Lasers there for you as well. And, just as well as I do, that iRacing is more than just sim racing. It's a family. So anything that you need, you just holler and we will be there, my friend.
Thank you, guys.
All righty. And Tony, I believe that you have Jeremy Miller.
I do have our second place finisher. Jeremy Miller, by just a fender, comes up just a tick short. And we heard from RJ Root saying that he knew he had the race in the bag when White got to him before Edstrom got to you to bump you to the win. But, I mean, talk us through that race. You were up front all night long.
Yeah, I mean, you do everything right the entire night. You just got to hope that last lap goes your way. And car behind him was just a little better than the car behind me is what that really comes down to. And he got the push and I didn't. I still held it as close as you can, but only so much you can do when you're one car against a line of three like that.
Well, you definitely showed that, you had the skill to lead quite a few laps here tonight. But, talk us through just how bad was this track as far as greasiness in the opening laps when we were around 130 degrees compared to how it was here at the checkers at just over 100 still.
Yeah, I actually felt like it was tighter and looser for most of the night for me. It just, I don't know. I mean, different track conditions than we've ran all week here, but just it's Atlanta. They ruined this place. It is what it is. I love plate racing, but this isn't plate racing. This isn't mile and a half racing. I don't really know what to call it. It's just quite frankly, it's pretty garbage, but it is what it is. You have to play with the sandbox that's given to you, and Prodigy does what we do best, and we played with the sandbox that was given to us, and we were the only cars on the lead lap at the end of the night. So it's just great team effort by everybody.
Well, we go up into New England next week. We go to the Miracle Mile at Loudon. What are your thoughts going into that race? Okay, Jeremy, what are your thoughts? Or who helps you get it done on the 30?
Just everybody at Prodigy, I mean, just tonight was really a great show of how great this team is. Can't really be touched when we have it all to put together, so definitely appreciate that and all the work they put in every week. And then you guys put on a great show. Everybody who runs the league over here in SNN and my family out there watching every week as well.
Jeremy Miller coming home in second place here tonight at Atlanta. Best of luck to you next week at the Miracle Mile.
Thank you.
And Dave, I believe you've got Matt White with you now.
Last but not least, Matt White. It's Dave up in the booth. You got me.
Gotcha. 5x5.
Hey, man, listen, great run tonight. You really tried to put it on here at the very end and just didn't have enough to get around to RJ and Jeremy. But obviously, you had a tough car tonight. How was it feeling tonight?
Yeah, feeling pretty good. I mean, we just were kind of the oddball out there. So I was just kind of running my race and, just going to pretty much ride for 259 laps. That was the plan going in. Car was amazing, though, in traffic and in the lead.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, especially with a track like Atlanta, since the repave, I mean, it's almost become exactly like a regular super speedway minus the restrictor plate. I mean, the question becomes when and where.
Yeah, so really everything was going to be coming off of 4 or off of 2 if you get runs. But definitely at the end there, you had to kind of have something going into 3, have a plan, and coming off of 4, kind of have a plan with that. But even then, everything's up for debate.
Well, speaking of debate, next week we do go up there to New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the following to Pocono. What are you looking for as we go short track racing for 301 laps at New Hampshire?
I'm just looking to bring some consistency to the track every week. Those 2 tracks are pretty good tracks for me. I really enjoy them. If I'm good at them, I don't know, but that's really the goal there, is just to be very super consistent like I was tonight.
All right, my man. Well, listen, before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank and tip your cap to before we head out?
I definitely want to first thank Prodigy for having me on the team. Ken Byron and Ryko Motorsports for putting a fast car together every week. I also want to thank Vertical Controls for being on board as always. Hope to bring 48 in Victory Lane next week.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations, and we will see you next week at New Hampshire.
Thanks so much, Dave. See you next week.
Well, Tony, as we always say, another one in the books here in the SNN Cup Series, brought to you by Stacy Strong, right here on Sim Racing Media. And I'll tell you what, it did not disappoint one bit.
No, it didn't. Even with the bombshell that RJ Root dropped in his post-race interview, I mean, I'm still choked up about what we just heard. But thoughts and prayers going out to his significant other. Hopefully the folks over at Trish's Hope can give them a little bit of aid if needed. But, I mean, it was a great race from start to finish. Only a couple of cautions for incident here tonight. All in all, I don't think we could have asked for a better race.
No, absolutely. I agree with you as far as, cautions and clean racing. I mean, here it is, 2.5 hours, and we're done for the night. So I want to take one quick final look at our standings here that I'll tell you what, could not have asked for a better finish to this race. RJ Root brings home the checkered flag, joined on the podium by Jeremy Miller and Matt White. Brandon Edstrom and Nick Stein round out your top 5 with Alex Murray, Derek Heitman, Aaron Mack, Mark Johnston, and Eugenio Alonso out of Buenos Aires making up your top 10.
Coming home in 11th, Joe Pisciota. As a matter of fact, only our top 7 finished on the lead lap, so that's kind of impressive at a place here like Hotlanta. And let me just get myself situated here. There we go. Ron Fitting, Alexander Gangler, Steve Herring, and Jeff Carson rounding out your top 15. Ken, Ron, Matt Mackin, John Wilco, Rafael Rodriguez, and Sean Rogers rounding out your top 20. Chris Claude coming home in 21st, kept plugging away at it, stayed out there. Got by Alex Princeton Dave Frug Jr., Rich Jett, and Lauren Jones, who all put it on the hauler early. Landon Lacey, Emily Arias, Tanner Marty, Ryan Samuelson, Nolan Hodgson, and Randall Watkins rounding out the field of 31 that took the green here tonight. And Dave, we mentioned it before. We're going to the Miracle Mile up in Loudon, New Hampshire to get some laps done next week. And, with any luck, Matt Metler will be feeling a little bit better by then. And what are you going to do with yourself on Sunday nights from now on?
Well, I guess I'm just going to be making sure that I tune in to see you and Metler every week.
Well, there you go. But that is going to do it for us tonight from Hot Atlanta. Grab yourself a nice cold Coke. Go back and watch the replay. He's Dave Regal. I'm Tony Trepassen. Reminding you, ladies and gentlemen, that until we get a chance to meet again, and as you walk down the road to life this week, do us all a huge favor. Don't play in traffic. Good night, everybody.